가다기 웃음 쓰지한다. 르버 숨 제제. 다 되게 르버 당구디 모두 두야 차대요래. 르버 니버디 랑닝으로 랑니 넬리두야. somebody 심지어 탐색 다 체도 명네 가다시 소수 다 고숨 심정 체 믹제 된지가 다네 아니 라면 상주주야 디샤되게 요래 다 르버 당구디 패질 안다 디 랑거 너도 랑거시가 나네야 사이 택다 상배 택 아니 디신돈이 가이나다 냐랑 택was으니 당연 식지도 여기 문제데 간다 삶이 택와 아니 상배 택와 되는 냐랑 그 택와 저주습에 택was으니 지시 남도 아니 담배를 여버디데 마사가 발라 택배를 뭐 줘야 요 말을 사줘래 자 드린 이전에 다 안데 기부 충무 저거디 다 삶이 택와 다 이제 상배 택과지나 리기요래 제니 동의지 동에 딱 그게 방자 동의지 동의를 줘야다 아니 듀 동의를 줘야 다디 차득도 와 자 드린 이전에 저분이 뒤가 한 게 추루배 패무치 간다 삶이 택과다 상배 택과 날래 되기요래 실하 검자 이거지도 상배 택과체 실하 검 미세 매베체 간다다 미지 잠닝지 된데게 더하네 미지 상불을 깨야 시한을 넣어 미시야 다 주주들이 삶이 택과 차리기도 와 그래서 이 인도산에 다 기부 충분 쇼거스럽도 나버지고 미세 디케레민도 기부 충분 쇼거코도 다음에 따와 고야게요 말에 정확해요 말에 그래서 이 인도산에 다 상제에 취해서야지 den시 남샤게 때문에 산지가 쳐야지 용되게 요래 사진이 인도산에 때디니 기분 되게 저걸래
So we have been speaking about the framework of the three practices of the three scopes or three capacities. And the initial capacity refers to those who aspire to attain fortunate rebirth. And so the object of aspiration is fortunate rebirth, whereas the second or middling scope, really the aspiration is to attain enlightenment for one's own sake, in one's own case. And then the highest scope refers to the spiritual practitioners whose aspiration is to attain full enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. So in this way, we can see a kind of stages within the framework of the three scopes. And in this context, there is a passage in Langa Avatara Sutra, Descent to Langa Sutra, where the text sutra speaks of various types of spiritual vehicles. There is a reference to celestial and human vehicles. There is a reference to Brahma vehicle. There is a reference to vehicles of the listeners, self-enlightened beings, and the bodhisattvas and the Mahayana practitioners. So, and the point made in that Langa Avatara Sutra is that so long as there is some kind of degree of conceptualization, correspondingly there needs to be a spiritual vehicle that would help overcome it and eliminate it. So the diversity of spiritual vehicles is explained in relation to the diversity of conceptualizations which human beings, sentient beings experience. So within this framework, if you look at, the practices and the spiritual practices of the initial scope, then the aspiration is to really seek temporary relief and freedom from more evident kinds of suffering. So within the Buddhist language, we refer to this as, suffering of suffering or evident suffering, and then as well as suffering of change. So the aspiration is to gain freedom from that, and therefore aspiration is to gain a higher rebirth. And the main practices are morality grounded in restraining from harming others, rooted in compassion for others, and so on, within that context. And so in this sense, we can see that there is nothing uniquely Buddhist about this first level of practice. In fact, the kind of the essence of that practice is shared by all spiritual traditions. So one can, from this point of view, say that all the spiritual traditions have that dimension of the practices of the initial scope to help us gain freedom from suffering and the suffering of change. And then it is in the relation to the second level, second scope, which is the middling scope, then the Buddhist practice comes in. Because when we talk of Buddha Dharma, Dharma here refers to primarily, as explained within the framework of the Four Noble Truths. And this is where even the teaching on no self becomes relevant. In the first level, there is even no need for the teaching on no self. So the teaching on no self becomes relevant from the middling scope. And then, of course, and then the main part there is the cultivation of the wisdom and so on.
다 대단 전이로서 소소해와 처자스. 강시탐니 간다 과야 대화 잠다나. 런이 돈을 니시고 기부전은 담을 시했어. 당원도 주비야. 원도 주비야기 탑디 미기 주문 거 수준 시행이야래. 다 미기 주문 거 수준 주로 배무신할 이거 소시도 와. 다 록다디 추유 소소스던 제레타네. 록대 남샤 다 메다샤용 거지. 아마도 셴페지 집거래. 애니 감주디 소소스 추유터네 감주기 그러봐. 레마도 셴 지 변에 유치베 타네 지게 가다 밀이야 다시 소울스는 지다 가다미 뭔가 터진 차로 터진 다 뒤타네 제 멋이다 누주 용조로 군주 거번 자라라 야시 미된디 초등하고 지 용되기도 와서 단조거리 예외 수도 봐. 다 지문시대 용만데 샤라면 자르고다. 자들이 인도 인다디 가다 천디 장로 미신 봐. 지금 심어 편지에다 부다 링규직 상담다 주로 참문지 성도. 자 천디 코나 상담등에 미치리스틱 다 천디 코나 뒤에 지금 미치리얼 밸류 짱짱 상담등인데 기부 충물로 낭시 니천 기부 충물 개발하다 기부 충물 탐해봐서 니치거래. 다디 천디 잠저 홀라네. 단 니던다로 지금다 지금 상담등에 되게 기부 충물 탐해봐서 다 천디 잠만 봐. 치치마 다들 주로 상올라 즉 특징 아니 지금 다 년도다 된로스야지다 현재들이 심하게 시고로 다들 인도잖아요 디디기 지 치무트니 걸로지 예외 소식도 와 주로 상올라 패지 통문제용도 다들 이러시야.
So the text reads that note that, this is in stanza 3, note that those who by whatever means seek for themselves no more than the pleasure of happiness of cyclic existence are persons of the least capacity. So here the point being made is that the spiritual aspiration of practitioners on this initial capacity or initial scope is really the attainment of freedom from obvious suffering and some kind of fortunate birth, and then the method for achieving that goal is really the practice of morality. In this, in this context, explained in terms of avoidance from 10 negative actions of body, speech, and mind. And if you look at the list of 10 negative actions of body, speech, and mind, this is a practice of morality that is common across all the major spiritual traditions. There may be some difference in the way in which wrong view may be defined according to different theology or philosophy of the tradition. But other than that, all the elements of the moral practice enshrined in the avoidance from 10 negative actions is really the same. And similarly, when we look at the practice of going for refuge, again, we can find similar practices in all the other spiritual traditions. The object of seeking refuge may be different, but the act of going for refuge is similar. And similarly, the practice of reflecting upon the kind of preciousness of human existence is concerned. Again, we see similar practices in Christianity. For example, in Christian understanding, although all creatures are same creatures of God, but human beings are considered to be in more elevated status of existence because of the possession of gift of soul. So there is that recognition of kind of the unique opportunity and status of human existence. So all of these are, maybe the language is different, the specifics are different, but the basic elements are there. However, so in all of these practices, in all the traditions, there is, emphasis on not being kind of, confined one's aspiration to only materialistic way of life and thinking only about this life. There is a concern and aspiration for the welfare of afterlife that is common to all the major spiritual traditions. However, that afterlife may be defined, there is also a notion of a more fortunate and unfortunate existence in the afterlife. That notion is also there. So compared to that, if one individual person's concern is only about this existence and also lives, according to that kind of, motivation, then these kind of individuals are referred to as very, very ordinary initial capacity people.
Yeah. 아니 기부중 담에발레 이치 저도가 지금 생기기 지금 돈하시는 직직 생기기 돈하 마시는 직직 기부중 담에발레 낭색이 처음에 샤쇼도.
So even within this category of people of initial capacity who are really ordinary persons of initial capacity, one can again make two distinctions. One category which is completely materialistic and doesn't care about the mental world, and another one, although the concerns is only about this life, but takes the role of mind in one's happiness more seriously.
내는 유디셔되게 원토스네 원버 토 사시 도가 간다다 원투류데 원버 토스데 그 가라서 다 미통주 된주스기디 류 밀토야레 류 원버 토아레 이네 류 원버 토아디 조 치레가 토네 상다데 마도 류 도슈지는 나줄레 따다 랑지도 시작한 소리 시작 슉치게 그다다 류 원버 토아서 조디 치르도 남지기 싫어고 토네 상도야 다데 부자는 그 기ven주야 다 디강을 상당 걸 봐. 사실 네 인도산에 말아서 미통주 된주스지도 되나라 류 원버 토아 탑도 열어지 이네 천리장자마도 대모부장자 류솔 대화장자 상다 대회이나 패지 디 상르도다는데 하람다 전주도 지고 있었지. 전주도에 공해 시발을 때는 즉 두고 초연데 버지 개시부지 디 탑시 소수 니벌 바게 실체되도. 사진이 있는 거는 좀미 공해 시발 등에 달아서 그러다 돼. 공해 시발 균 디두연데 디치고 상다 대회이나 류 넘버 토어리디 센트도 참여되고 넘버 토어 맨데서 소지 페이지 적도. 사진이 있는 거는 좀 별게 나로 즉 넘버 토어 사되기 다 원투 류진시지 지 류부 되든지 조 출도 남지기 싫어고 땡네 또 지다 난 삼류 디기 쳐야 지금 상도 거리는 딱 먼저 전에 넘버 토어리.
So in the Tibetan language, the human existence is referred to as kind of a fortunate existence or fortunate birth. And when we talk about this fortunate birth, out of 7 billion human beings, we all share commonly the existence as human beings. So from that physical point of view, we all share this fortunate bodily existence. But when we talk about human existence as being fortunate, it's not defined in terms of the strength of the body, because if you compare to the strength, there are wild animals like tigers whose body is much stronger than us. It is really that kind of fortunate aspect really comes from.
I think senses of organs ability is concerned, I think some of the animals, even birds, I think stronger than our sensorial sort of ability. For example, elephant, they have long nose, long distance they can smell. Our nose very limited. My nose now, this one, even close, sometimes difficult to smell. Then ear, so like I think some because of the wild animal, so their ear, the shape also quite big, and they can, you see, because pick up small sort of the sound. They always, so as far as sensorial sort of ability is concerned, these animals much better than us. But then number two is correct.
So the fortunate existence, fortunate birth.
Fortune, then that means brain. So, if may I say so, those people who simply concern about material value, that's just a concern about sensorial experiences. So these human body, but their sort of real sort of thinking is like animal. So we must, Kasuta, use our special sort of gift. I think if you believe God, the God's special gift, that's our brain. And the strong seed of compassion, love. So that's something special gift. So we must realize that and use that properly. That's important. 다 전에 진짜게 다직 가서 우리 남주디 직 배주샤리아 직다 다 걸릴체쇼를 사면 봐. 직 그게 자자로 직 타네 다 지하리아다 믿다고 사면 돼. 다 단조 전신이가 전에 지원합니다. 다 믿다고 사님 시그리 삼바 삼기에 직남배 숙성부시기야지 된지래. 다 안드디다 저들이 인도산에 지금 치마 컨디션을 두고 예매. 답변은 지대 거부 등에 지네 녀에 가서 우리 남샤직 다른 것도 와. 지금 사제비 중날이네 지금 냥강기 남샤 다른 거래. 간다지 소소 야구 맞잖아. 지금 냥가 여대지. 되게 시작이다. 자 다들 년주동에 삼았어요. 나한테는 다 년주 다 겨치면 지금 걔네 년벌기야기 년까지 통인도 전에 다대 텔로 만들어야지. 다 탑시디. 네네. 다 되기 쉬어야 돼. 미기 주고 줄임서야 돼. 류기 소셔 봐. 멋짐을 내봐. 로임자가. 되는 나기 준 참아 식수 나게. 되네 이기 납심 뇌심 록다 감정기 소수다 취유든지 록다 셰도로 자 되네 인도산에 다 디디 미기 주셰 다 뒷담바디 깔부게와 주셰 자 미기 주디기 년돌 패야 미기 주 담배 깔부 기주 팀을러 있나 된돌 기그레스 다 군조신이야 레아사지 리그로
So having understood the special opportunity that the human existence, the fortunate birth, accords us with the gift of our ability to critically examine our human intelligence, one might, although having recognized this, may procrastinate, thinking that, yeah, I will utilize it later, So in order to protect us against, guard us against that kind of procrastination, then the reflection upon death and impermanence becomes an important practice. So here, the reflection upon death is not simply there to instill in us a fear of death, but in fact, instill in us a kind of an appreciation of the immediacy of the need to practice. And in this context, if you look at many of the theistic religious traditions, there are descriptions of, fortunate afterlife or hell and so on. Similarly, in Buddhist texts, there are mentions of hell realms and so on. And the main point of these is to really impress upon us there are consequences to what we do, whether it is virtuous or non-virtuous action, the consequences which come to be real in the afterlife. And so in this way, contemplation on those kind of situation becomes important. And then how do we guard against that kind of danger? Then the practice of morality becomes important. And practice of morality, as explained before, is enshrined in the practice of restraining from 10 negative actions and guarding against them, and taking a kind of a stance against them and exercising restraint. So these are refraining from 3 bodily actions of killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct, and 4 verbal actions of telling lies, engaging in divisive speech, and using harsh words, and senseless chatter or gossip. And then 3 mental actions of covetousness, harmful intention, and wrong views. And wrong view, as explained before, how you define that would differ according to your own tradition. So these are engaging in these non-virtuous actions, lead to negative consequences in the afterlife, and restraining from them and practicing morality to guard against restraining against them constitutes the practice of morality that would lead to fortunate existence and fortunate rebirth.
Yeah. That's the given ring. Lam Shala, Sibe Della, Job Shawshing, Tigwele, Dotani, considering something, Gibutin Rinshi Charles. Da let me take away. Top jealous, Mondulu didn't know. And that day, Rishi Dungi Dunge shook out the drum. Any Mondu Digi, Yetting, any ship to some town, Mondu Digi, Guetung is. And a Harvard to you, Chisi rank Simdi, Numumbe, Shawando, good devil, ring teller, any Deva Cook, then to Deva Cook, young type of Dawachik Yamaris. So the day into Saneta, Dushik to Meleta, Tower Chekures, Dushik to Mesadi, Lenuji Shawan Jengeta, Gawati, Dushik to Melashani, that Tate to Meditani, that Teletandu Lojayadi, that Sanji Chene mixes when I did that teacher. So Jim Dendegi, Dambashi Sun in Zane, Dini do not have a demo and a Sunshadi, Dini Sene, Didra Josadi, the Maranzo Koabe Simjing, Kando Dagbe, Shiro or Pungso Church to her, Pungso Church, the Gu Leather Numo one to the Nichi. Oh, Dindidi, any Dungaris. That is Dunga in Julia, any Kiji Jigwe Dani without Kiji Jigwedi, Jiguchin Julo Tabamaimba, Rangi Kishi Gushava. Teda Rangi Kishi Gushava in Dusane, Guishawa Jimba. Tedana, come didn't do what the Bosun did the Jusadi, Lenu Shawan, gave a Pungu Tilsungu in Dusane, T, Numobe Shawan is. Numobe Shawan, Moribe Shawan, Chayon in Dusane, that Lokan, Gulatiana, Rub Moshiwaching, some truth in it. Then they get that Numombe Wangi, Numombe Shawan to Juting, that Tindichi, Ranshi in Dusane, that Yao sometime, young Tawana, they were made of a child. That was this sometime. Mida Dunge. That on any good Lenu Shawanjing gave it a Pungutindi, and call 다 동료들은 시리디 아니 디 봐 쳐야 디 윤쳐야지 여르베스라나 용시기르베스라나 용그리스 아니 머리베 자와 다도 좀 로디 아니 다디 동 다메사도 좀더 공허하게 되다면다 용서리 근데 다 드리시샤니 배시샤 투서리 강사가 다게 동 다가는 시 강사 간도 다베 시 풍소에 다음에 봤어 또 자리에 있나 겹쳐보시샤 도도 자 드리 인도산에 렌유지 상황 전기 풍부교화디 긴쇼토리 사지 동gen들이 제시시 때문에 단 능력한테 다가다 사지시셔야 돼 지난 내용도 사실 탐지 동어 최도지 동시 나오냐 하는데 왜 쉬워서야 돼 디간식 내용도 봐 자 드리 인도산에 다 되네만 이네 좀 된대기 다 동네디 육근중 되는 총알이스 줄 되는 총알이스 아니 근중 남샤도 다 육근중 잡기 게 디시타는 마직도 새끼 다들 그 겐지 제가 이르잖아요 그 교대 겐디 머리가 치즈라고 놓치기 제가 이르잖아요 치즈라고 놓치 인신절라 대 남겨서야 대 간다치 이해돼 버지 치즈 말라고 놓대다 치즈라고 놓니부터 간다차대요 간다차 강실라 치즈 말라고 놓라 잡대요 치즈라고 놓대 잡대요 말이 근데 인도산에 치즈 말라고 놓대 겁나 겁봐 아니 겁바배 슈슈처로 도르겠어 겁바 슈슈로 돼 뒤에야 좀제 썸을 때문에 연대리 근데 이번 인도산에 루 라포트를 땡땡이 연대다 저기 말이스 그 썸을 때문에 연대디 땡땡버리스 땡땡버서야지 생기균 통마다 탐해버디 갈래요 그래 다 생기균 통마다 탐해버디 십제가 말래요인데 뉴멀 해지지 왜 생생사다 디강 주주리 자 드리 인도산에 다 가사주구티 자 드리 인도산에 다 어디니 치즈로 로디 세트야지 아래 치즈 말로 로디 아니 치즈로 로이 녀부차디 아래 로라 숙쟁이 쳐는 시체니 겨지야 요마르티 그 진단 개회 타네 겨지야 요래 근데 이번 인도산에 진단 개로 강라 잡진 참아 여버디 아니 잡진 참아 여버차네 누워야 돼 봐. 썸을 때문에 연대인 배차네 쿰심 배수 깨말로 못 봐. 아니 땡땡 차대야 그래서 저 드리 인도산에 아니 좀 세루를 해서 다들 간래 그래. 드리 인도 과버서야 되다. 이거 쇼지. 나 동네 교 냠부께 떡이 매송 냠부께 떡이 바간 고바 사시도가 어다디 지시서 주면도 어다 근데 그 고바디 다 용수지 다 담보수모 고바 담보사다디 아니 그 리식다 동행은주 매바 차바 잠만이 봐 리식 동행은주 매바 차바 잠도 마세베 거기네 냠부께 떡이 까가 인도산에 시월레스 잖은 말이스 아니 라르 김미루도 셔베 인도산에 내버 좀 말이스 고버쇼 잖은 민주 다디 주지기니 탑디 치지 말고 로 깨고기 인도산에 치지 말고 로 깨야 돼 로디 치지 말고 로디 세야게 탑람들이스 람 람디 그래서는 유직비 아니 가서 우리 유직별로 샤디아레스 유늘 치지 말고 유직별로 샤디아레스 엔다 대인이 가서 양양 싸움단다 퇴성 공부하셔야 돼 투중기 싫어 달라되는 섬중기 싫어 달라되는 꿈중기 싫어 영화계배 관에 아니 대대비 두버치 아니 아니 그래서 검제되는 산당 터버셔야지 아니 머리비 뭐니 치즈 간다 치즈 말고 로티 누버데 가서 그 떡단데 버기에 내고를 인디 다 세트야 준 거리스 제니 람리고 두번 인지 송샤들도 와 자들이 인도산에 따와다디 다 다음에 따와던 제 땡네 동네 규윤제 셔야 동네 규 잡아와 뒤ቷ네 이니 두지기 동네에서 아디 못 주셔 다 뒤디 머리고 빵배관에 용과다 머리고 뽕지디 아니 다음에 뵙시 다 다음에 또 싫어들이 했으니 다 도슬링도 자상가 있는 띵징 러버디 대저대 추중을 러버디 대저대는 영어인데 학벌 러버 숨사서 차그래
So in the stanza number 4, it says, "Those who seek peace for themselves alone, turning away from worldly pleasures and avoiding destructive actions, are said to be of middling capacity." So, in the practitioners of middling capacity recognizes that simply attaining fortunate birth and fortunate existence does not constitute kind of a permanent freedom from suffering. It is only a temporary relief from an evident suffering. And in fact, what we consider conventionally recognized to be pleasurable experiences, if you examine deeply, carefully, a lot of these will also turn out to have be a source of dissatisfaction. So what we conventionally identify as pleasurable may, in fact, are in essence, sources of dissatisfaction as well. So in this way, one's understanding of the nature of suffering becomes more deepened, and one comes to recognize that our very existence, conditioned by afflictions and karma, is itself a source of suffering, itself in the nature of suffering, because here. Particularly, one comes to recognize that so long as, we are within an existence where our mind is under the influence of negative and afflictive emotions and thoughts, so long as we remain vulnerable to such forces, there is no space for true happiness. And this is why in the Buddhist understanding, when we talk about the understanding the deeper nature of suffering, this definition of the meaning of suffering is not confined to just sensory sensations of pain, but it in fact refers to what is known as the pervasive suffering of conditioning or conditioned existence. And here, for example, when the Buddha taught the Four Noble Truths, the first noble truth was the truth of suffering. And Buddha's statement was, "This is the noble truth of suffering." So when he is using the word "this," he is referring to our conditioned existence, which is conditioned by karma and afflictions. And this, because of this, it is in the nature of suffering. And the point being made is this: since it is a conditioned existence, it is under the power of its causes and conditions. And in the case of unenlightened existence, the primary causes and conditions are really karma and the afflictions underlying that. And any form of existence that are conditioned and governed by those forces will ultimately turn out to have no basis for lasting, permanent happiness. So therefore, and furthermore, anything that is conditioned by existence is also subject to change. Therefore, reflection on impermanence becomes important. And because of its impermanent nature, it is also, in some sense, governed by other forces. It is not governed by itself. It is not autonomous. And in this way, one comes to recognize that underlying all the conditions that give rise to our existence is really the afflictions, and the source of afflictions really is the fundamental ignorance pertaining to the very nature of our existence. And once you recognize that, then the question arises: can the causes of this suffering, which is the afflictions, and the basis of the sources from which these afflictions arise, can these be brought to an end? So that is the question. And when you reflect deeply, then the answer will turn out to be yes, because once we recognize that the afflictions are rooted in an ignorance, and ignorance by its very definition means a distorted form of knowing, either unknowing or distorted form of knowing. And if it is a distorted form of knowing, then there is a contrary perspective that will help us see through the distortion. And therefore, anything that is rooted in a distorted way of seeing things and way of knowing, then it is unstable, because you have a distorted perspective and there is the opposite, right, correct perspective, which is the wisdom. And if you compare the two, then the distorted perspective has no grounding in reality or in reason, whereas the correct perspective is closer to or in tune with the reality. So when the two opposing perspectives are contrasted, it is the perspective that is grounded in reality and has a valid support that will, be stronger. So in this way, one will come to recognize the way in which, antidotes operate within the mental world. In the physical world, you have heat, something like heat and cold, which contradict each other. But in the mental world, they don't physically, contradict each other, but they contradict each other by means of opposing perspectives. So you have wisdom and ignorance which contradict each other by means of their different perspectives. So in this way, we can come to recognize that, yes, the underlying root of unenlightened existence is ignorance, which can be removed. Therefore, the whole chain of suffering can be brought to an end. And when you come to recognize that, then you come to recognize that there is the possibility of a true cessation from suffering. So this is the Buddha's teaching on the third noble truth, which is the truth of the cessation. And when you come to recognize that there is the possibility of cessation, then the question is, what is the path that would lead to that cessation? And this is where the fourth noble truth, the truth of path, comes into the picture. And the truth of the path, in essence, relates to the wisdom pertaining to the nature of reality. In other words, the wisdom of no self and wisdom of emptiness. And once you recognize this represents true wisdom, by cultivating it and by and incorporating it within one's own being through the process of first initially learning and studying and hearing about it, and then critically reflecting upon it and making it more familiar, and eventually culminating in a more experiential understanding of the truth, then in this way, the path, which is the wisdom of no self, then becomes powerful enough to eliminate the fundamental ignorance. And this is the fourth noble truth, the truth of the path. And so this is a very unique, so at this level of the practices of the middling scope, then the unique aspect of the Buddhist teachings come into play. And in this context, morality also becomes Buddhist, and the practice of meditation becomes Buddhist, and cultivation of wisdom also becomes Buddhist. Therefore, these three practices are referred to as three higher trainings in morality, meditation, and wisdom.
어다데 디지도와 머리가 사들이야. 간단한 동네 싸워데 미시베 쳐버렸어. 또 좀제디 시가래. 동네 싸워 미시베 쳐버렸어. 이제 동네 제야 말이야. 동네 믿는 스타일에 레디네 동네 연구야. 동네 연구야데 동네 주소서 주셔 스타일에. 사진데 이미 이르사네 시신도 동네 주고 말아. 미시베 왕게 동네 좀 버렸어. 다 미시부자리야. 응원도 터발라. 아니 그게 가서 그래. 응원도 터비 귤을 몽댕이 미시부지. 대라야. 균제를 몽배 머리 봐서 렌즈를 몽배 머리 봐서 디샤. 다 녀리 터발라. 대코는 일로 몽배 머리 봐서 디샤. 내리 토야라 바르도 중에 디체. 자, 당 원도 토발라 바르도 중에기 아니 미시버 균제를 몸에 머리고 디세야디 균제기 땡중 시베체니. 균제기 땡중 시베 관에 교상을 때는 교상해요야. 어다 디디 시에 터네 아니 동네기 교다 되기 쉬하게 뒷분기 쭉 지다 디시. 다 대코는 이런 거 머리고 시야 머리고디 뽕야디 아니 대코는 인루 시지. 대코는 이 인루 컨트롤했을나? 다 들려야 때문이지. 능수도 내주 밑으로 직체. 능수를 다 가라 되니 남샤디 무디베 되려래. 무디베 슝네 되니야래. 배나 장제부터 지도다 디 가서 다 시리기 기우도 단담돼 봐. 신 능주신다지 참을로 아니 디체 가서 주디. 그저때 봐. 지도 시행도 와. 저다 낭배 슝난 샤샤네 지라마 원도되고 sem서버 참을로 우모버 참을로 되니 남샤 되듯이. 다 되니 모질로 똑같아졌을 때 배지 또 우모베다 송되기도 와. 자, 디리 인도산에 다디 간다 마다 마제병 안에 지니 로르샤데야 디디 그게 뭐 직체 르버 직체 다 디리 마다 마제병 안에 그게 팬은 무슨 제등이 최지 샤샤 디기 인루 컨디션 봐봐봐봐 자주 담비나 아니 마다 마제병 안에 나한테 최디 디기 나와도 봐 가체 최저다 되기 모두 지금 인루 컨디션도 봐 딱든 최 롱어들라 최생에 나와디 봐 년으로 추고 있지 그래서는 최생디디 마다 마제베 롱을 샤샤버지 마다 마제베 로율에 샤샤버 로율에 샤니 샤샤버디 된기 인루 컨디션도 봐 제가 집에 있나 마다 마제베 안에 여대버디 랑기 인루수 주야 말해 코랑 그 내루 말해 그래서 코랑 그 내루 믿으잖아요. 코랑 그 내루 속에 그 로팅올라 그래서 코랑 니야메 되지. 바 나와든 가다지. 그래서 디디면 믿으잖아요. 딱준 세베 딱준 최외 로이 니야게 니든 줄라 단도다 봤어 그래. 최초의 시루 인루 시에 그래. 그래서 어디든 인루다 인루도 그래서라나 그러다 인루 탈라 몸에 로팅 문즈발라 인루 가려 입어도 쉬어오르다. 다 인루디 아니 우모베 로기 아니 시신기 슝나로로 그 타가 그 측신은 뭐서랑 배에 란장 마부신 송샤디 최탐제 다삼 민삼 도배 다삼 디 도저디 모니지 주베 동래 송대도 어디 디기 인루디 시에요. 다 인루디 시에베 관에 될 치로 도된 것이 인루로 몸배 머리버디 대코는 이런 거 머리버사다 디니 뭐죠 이거래 자 디디 인도 다 될래야 아니 준제 띵중 가서 준제 띵중 시에서 뭐임 봐다 때는 딱그 띵중디 시고요래 때는 딱그 띵중 시야기 주시 터도디 때는 중으로 와서 그지디 레무도 냐라 저부 줄을 떠는 것도 와서 저부 줄을 떠대는 신주산에 저부 뭐니 주요나 샤나 떠고 말했어. 그래서 줄을 떠고 니지 바로 줄을 때문에 좋은 니지 줄을 떠고 왔어. 줄을 떠고 인주산에 때문에 라오 점도 왔어. 대단한 거라서 놀이야 근데 세우도서나 요뭐 저부 신주산에 거라 텐딩네 랑랑기 인루수 주어 떠우지 뭐지 뭐랑 섬신서 볼샤도 어다 디샤원은 시 요말했어 또 때는 중 규전도 쳐야지 그냥 군대 된중도 규전도 쳐야지 왜다 때는 주고 이거 때는 주고 이거 봐봐 또 이러네 다 때는 딱서 마도 저서면 되지 셰우도 그래서 내 인도산에 간다 때는 딱 보면 이거 뭐니 주변 똥한테다 최라랑기 뒤로 인루 되는 차대기 텔로 몸을 로텔라 텔로 시로 도된 로디 아니 대코나니로 몸을 머리 봐서 돼 말이 어디 뒤년부터 대코나니 때는데 리버티디 토네 아니 대코나니 치머시신 셰프 중나 대코나니라 치로도 똑베 로도디 세주고
So if we think about what we have discussed, it's actually quite obvious, because the statement that the source of suffering is ignorance is actually quite obvious, because if we think about it, nobody wants suffering, but we create our own suffering. So clearly there is a some disconnection somewhere, and that has to do with unknowing or ignorance, and because nobody would willingly create their own conditions of suffering. So from our own personal experience, we recognize that there is a disconnection between our desire for happiness on one hand and wanting to avoid suffering, and our continued indulgence in conditions that really create our own suffering. So, and that has to be the function of ignorance. Now, in the Buddhist text, when we talk about ignorance, there are many different, there are levels, different degrees of ignorance. One level of ignorance really pertains to, ignorance about the relationship of causes and conditions. And here, ignorance pertaining to the law of karma. So, and this is directly related to the practices of the initial scope, where the aspiration is to seek fortunate rebirth. And, once we, being ignorant of the laws of cause and effect, law of karma, we indulge in negative actions which then, lead to our own unfortunate rebirth. Whereas by recognizing the truth, understanding the truth of the law of cause and effect, law of karma, then when we are able to embody that knowledge and live our life accordingly, as explained before, by grounding it within the practice of morality, of abstaining from 10 negative actions of body, speech, and mind, then we are able to attain our aspiration for fortunate rebirth. However, there is a more fundamental kind of ignorance, which has to do with ignorance pertaining to the ultimate nature of reality. And so when it is in this context, the teachings on the two truths become relevant, because ignorance pertaining to the ultimate nature of reality can only be removed and eliminated by cultivating wisdom or insight into the true nature of reality. And in this context, the teachings on the two truths become important. And simply put, the teachings on true truths really point to us the disparity we experience between our perception on the one hand and the actual reality on the other. In other words, appearance and reality. And this notion of true truths is actually not just in Buddhism, but also in non-Buddhist tradition as well. For example, in the classical Indian school of thought known as Samkhya school, a distinction is made between the true truths, where the taxonomy of reality is classified, explained within those two truths.
그는 theistic religion 셰비니 배셰토도 탐절로 군주 거버디 단 담변일로 디셰 군주는 나다한테도 소소식이 되었었지.
So we can even use this kind of model of two truths to understand the theistic perspective as well, because one could, from the theistic religious point of view, one understands that the ultimate reality of everything is that everything, all beings are creatures of the one and the same God. But on the conventional level of truth, we see all this diversity. We don't see that, unity of being same creation of the same God. So in the Samkhya philosophy, they have a similar understanding of using the true truth model. So in the Buddhist context, when we talk about the two truths, the conventional level of truths really refer to our everyday perception of reality, kind of as understood within the kind of naive view of the world, where we experience multiplicity, diversity, separatedness, and so on, where cause and effect and all of this. Whereas if you then move beyond that surface level of reality of diversity and ask, what is their ultimate nature? And then we inquire, whatever it is, if we take something and then inquire into its deeper nature, ultimate nature, then whatever concept we choose to inquire and examine, and nothing can stand the scrutiny of searching for its essence. All the concepts break down. And what this points out is that, the notion of object and separateness that we experience is really at the conventional level, defined by our conventions, language, and so on, whereas the ultimate reality is really emptiness, because nothing, there is no objective independent existence that can be pointed out when you search for it. And in this respect, a detailed explanation of this understanding of ultimate truth can be found in the various writings of the Middle Way school, Madhyamaka school. And so although this is the case, but when we examine the way things appear to us, it does not appear exactly as they are. Things appear to us as if, whether it is causes or effects or things themselves, we tend to perceive all of these as possessing some kind of discrete, objective, self-defined reality of their own, with some kind of objective existence. But in reality, no such objective intrinsic existence can be found. And so it is only through understanding the kind of interrelation between the various things that we can understand their existence. Therefore, this ultimate nature of truth is referred to as emptiness, and which is the content of the wisdom. And when we cultivate that wisdom, then we are able to gradually undermine the opposite perspective, which is the perspective of ignorance, grasping onto intrinsic existence of things. And so, in other words, the ultimate, kind of evidence for the fact that things do not possess independent existence is their very dependent reality. Things and events come from their causes and conditions, and this dependent origination demonstrates their utterly dependent nature. And if they are dependent, they are devoid of independent nature, and the absence of that independent nature is their ultimate reality. And this realization of the absence of independent existence or emptiness, when you cultivate it, then gradually the ignorance pertaining to the ultimate nature of reality will come to be diminished.
Oh yeah. That there, sive dela gyabshoshi digwe lale do dengnis, kangshi rengshi zam tuanyer zade, rengni shiwa zam zagda shiwa di, zhaba nyer shi zage shiwa di. Ada zawshir nali ya, ladan yumong sabe tarbas. Tarbas zade kandish reslamna, ladan yumong nyambu kiwe topki, ani semdene chayasona, ani dini go semji chuni di tarbaris. Ladan yumong sabe tarbas. Di jumze ma sha yundu zane, jumze song yundu, ladan yumong namdo les. Gyawa di tagi shama tabo nashi laji wangchung. La di ani chum nyumong wangchung. Marmu marita. La di chumi ichig namdo. Di lada nyumong, la di nyumong le chung. Nyumong di chumi ichig namdo chungs. Chumi ichig namdo di ani tenzig traba le chungs. Di shigdwa. Ta anda di anda nge Aaron Beck samarwe. Aaron Beck o kongi azu shedang shukchubu lambe kadoliya shedang gewe yu di chatamchene midugo jiga 통용gu yares. Di ngoyo nezola gyajak gubju le jeshabale shaas. Oda di tsumi ijiga namdoga jodadande diri. Da dindegi tsumi ijiga namdoga jodaya di yu di denbawachi. Yu di sangda ngengi keshu di denbawe keshuji lola shaadingachi. Oda di denzingi trabasadi, dindegi da denbar zindebe lotela denzingi trabasigi yore. Sa dindegi indu lada nyumu sebeta, lada nyumu namdole, teda zhele, 저바를 총알했다. 대대비니 덴징이 저바디 동번 이진 가고 요스. 동니 시에베 대코나니 치머지시 시에베 로티 대코나니라 치질로도 또베 로 저바디 시토리스. 저바 강도 시거렸으나 지자철 종 지자철 저번이 동번이 두 가고 있어. 렉자가 쓰려야 고니도가 동번이 기스는 지랄을 거야지. 동번이 두스는 니시소리를 거야지. 야나 디신이 디니 소리지 말아다. 동번이 두 가고 있어도 되게 인수 가고 있어야지. 고니도가. 저상 어떤 디기 주머치기 인수 세 주머치기 인수 다 써야 돼. 다 장축 써야 돼. 따다루고 이게 안다 감 대신 인부세네 심지 춘이가 상던 거 그러다 너도 뭐 지단 가서 퍼싱 다 가서 우리게 듀라만의 샤다데 챔피언 라지고 소리래 뭔가 지금 거두는 소야디 패시 조조 유지에 세대는 소문도가 듀라마디 유진의 회사다 저같이 예도 송겨래 저들은 인도산에 딱 듀라만의 송셔 되게 고터도디 알람이 거는 송대하기 들리게 하래. 저들이 민주산에 안돼 가서 산제 추소 아니 감 청축 세송도와 감 써야 돼. 청축 써야 돼. 점을 취지 점을 타다 취진수 다 하셔야 내가 모니고 때라 에다 방고 터두들 샤네 대용야디 아주 시 내걸 이제되베 감 링금 써줘봐 링금 뒤 땡게 좀 다 이르잖아 뒤니 정주를 해도 와 저서 감 정주 써네 점에 징셔베 링디 감 점에 다 되면 내걸로 정주 써야지 저서 어디 안 돼도 심지 춘이가 내고도 와 저 진짜로 심지 춘이 점 강도 다서 돼 심지 춘이 점어디에 심지 춘이로 몸bew한 거죠 근데 인도산에 점어 정지디에 심지 춘이 시베로 되게 점어 장야지 어디를 그러셔 어디 긍시 릉시 잠되니 기부되는 정시 자스
So in this stanza stanza 4 there's a reference to those who seek peace for themselves alone. This peace or tranquility is really refers to the realization of the ultimate nature of reality. And here, for example, in Nagarjuna's text, Fundamental Stanzas on the Middle Way, Nagarjuna explains how birth in secular existence comes from karma, and the karma comes from afflictions, and afflictions arises due to false mental conceptualization or mental projections, which in turn arises from grasping at inherent existence or true existence of things. And then Nagarjuna explains that, however, this grasping at inherent existence of things or true existence of things can be brought to an end by means of emptiness, which means by means of cultivating the wisdom of emptiness. And in this respect, the point that afflictions arises from, false projections of the mind is something that contemporary cognitive therapy also understands. For example, I had a conversation with the founder of the cognitive therapy, Aaron Beck, who in our conversation mentioned that when someone has a very strong anger towards someone or something, which is a reaction to something that you find undesirable or something that you find unattractive, and he mentioned that the quality of undesirability or unattractiveness of that object, 90% is really a false projection of the person's mind, and this is what is meant by mental projection, which then leads to an afflictive reaction to the person or the object. And so Nagarjuna explains that this kind of false projection which leads to afflictions, and which the false projections which arises from a kind of a grasping onto true existence of things, this grasping at true existence of things can be brought to an end by means of emptiness, which is an instrumental usage. But another reading of the same line in a Sanskrit version can be read as it can be brought to an end within the emptiness, which is sort of a more locative reading. And this is exactly what is meant by the statement that the liberation is nothing but a state of mind. When the mind of the person has become cleansed of all the pollutants, that has been, cleansing which has been brought about through the application of the powerful antidotes, that is liberation, that is enlightenment. And here in Maitreya's Sublime Continuum text, Lama, he talks about how, in its unenlightened state, the Buddha nature is referred to as the sphere, the nature, and when the person has become enlightened, it is the state of enlightenment. And in other words, it is a state of mind, a mind that has been cleansed of the pollutants is enlightened, and prior to that, it is an unenlightened state.
This one. Those who seek peace for themselves alone. The peace, the sure the peace of his mother.
This is a tranquility. Tranquility is
the sure said the sim shitisa sure the mata, and the sure said the Kasur sim true young eggy, Loti, that tend to have charge, the dish.
So perhaps this. So perhaps this term, English translation, peace, is not the right word for the Tibetan word Shiva here, because here we're not talking about a peace of mind or a tranquil mind. We're actually talking about a pacified state, a state that has been where all the pollutants have been pacified.
Sure.
So for one of the metaphor that is used is a sky, which is an overcast, becoming completely free from the clouds.
Oh.
So we cannot call that state a peace.
Just the detail city, New Stammer so. Yeah. That issue with the Kiuchamo. Rangu Togwe to Neki, Kanshi Shenji to Negu, Yanda Sabakun and the Kibutan Choinos. That kind of Rangdem, Denshi Namshatu, Sandani, Tabatani, John and Shinji, Shandin Pa, Kapun, Shen, Da, Yalachi, Tungi, Natavada, Takada, Kadazo, that Disha, Duji Pungu. Duji to make it nani that this that the Rangdenlia, that the you pondu lot, Chigani, Tipang, Chawang to Chandu, lawyer, that they shan't have Capena, no, together, to Mele gender somewhere, but to Mele John do in the language. To me, the ruin of Machina, to me, tell a tower, dark China, Belotia, Medua. That to me, the Kandra, some of came to that Dungeti Jeru was shit. Dungeti Pontogi, Tapshi of a shenje, any Dungeti now, Tony Dusane, that Dungeti Tower Cha, so much. Dungeti job summer. And that sausage, Hassam Leati, any lay. The Indu, Rangu Toga Dungetis, Kanshi Dungu, Yanda several Gunendu, give it in Choinos.
So in stanza 5, we read the practices, characteristics of the practitioners of the highest scope. It reads those who, through their personal suffering, truly want to end completely all the sufferings of others, persons of superior or supreme capacity. And here, what the text is explaining is that the spiritual aspirant, after having reflected deeply upon the nature of suffering, the possibility of the cessation of suffering, and so on, in relation to one's own existence, is then able to, kind of extend that understanding to other sentient beings, change the focus from oneself to other sentient beings. And then here, as explained before, the suffering really has to be understood at this deeper level of suffering of conditioned existence. Then, one will be able to aspire for enlightenment of all beings. And this would require, on the part of the spiritual practitioner, not only an aspiration, but also a kind of a conviction in the possibility of attaining the cessation of suffering. Because if you don't have that conviction of the possibility of cessation of suffering, then even if you reflect upon others' suffering, you will feel only a sense of pity, thinking, oh, how tragic, how sad. But your aspiration for others' elevation of suffering will be only in the form of a wish. There wouldn't be a sense of wanting to do something about it. In order to get that kind of stronger form of compassion, you really need to have a conviction in the possibility of freedom from suffering. And once you have that and you extend this understanding to other sentient beings, and when you gain this realization, then truly not only a wish to see others free from suffering will arise, but also a strong sense of willingness to wanting to do something about it yourself.
Oh yeah. That the semdi 장야리야. 아니. 가다 들다다. 가다 난게 태도고 심전리야. 편지 쭉 삼배. 대달의 편지 주야 그 치도 랑기니 남기 계획하고 원건도 차 삼배 로디 영야리야. 냐라 로텔라 청주 되니고 로다. 현주 되니고 로 두번이 고도아. 저는 청주에서 뭐마디 현주 되니고 두배 장 전주 되니까 누구도 충전도 있대요. 로직을 전주 섬스. 자, 다 진짜 냐를 영어리야. 디 페지티브요. 니나게 칙. 다 뭐도 지금 저 봐. 니나나리야. 아니 파고저디. 디가서 이니 버리지 않을 게 봐. 파고저디 니나가 나려야 디도아 닝지 심전의 미 시르기 청주를 믹스하지. 자, 이제 청주 되니로 용어리야. 냐라 청주 못쳐지 고도아. 청주 못쳐야지 시르기 청주를 믹스해 있는데 되게 하는 공도 한다 국대신의 시대에 그들이었던 데 이번은 신기 주머치기 인수 그게 다 줘야 돼. 나 진짜기 고화등에 레고도 봐. 디신의 정주공어체. 정주공어체는 정주 되는 걸로 연구로 봐. 현 정주들은 권력으로 리그로 봐. 자, 진행 인도산에 다시 정주는 권력이 로디 영화리야. 현 동네지 나와라. 미스를 로수 잡고 영화리야. 동네 관계 나라에 동네도 못 쳐지. 동네기 나라에 심전텔라 제시방을 놓기버지 니고도. 다 동네 관계 나라에 동네 못 쳐야지 기본 증기 도전 거에 님이 선하다 군주 거에 주로 삼아電子 상무도 야고 거래이나 동네 관계 나와도 지금 상무 거고 봐. 다강 동네기 나라에 심전을 제시방을 놓 영향 될라. 다 윤제 명화 등권에 놓자야지. 다시 무조건 놓자야지. 다 남중을 안서 냠는지도 뒤니 룩니 찍고 세. 다 도마 당뇨 공부. 되네 마시. 다 마스 인지비지 맞고 게 말이다. 말아서 년도 뭐 주베 심점해 봐. 년도 주고 삼야 찍. 되네 진제 마치베 내가 진삼야 진제. 되네 마치베 내가 원래 지 천디 또그 담숨네 소원식이 남진 토도 남진 토야 발기 지 가서 렉소 타달로 심전을 되는 연구여버디 진짜 개발 상도 하듯이 대장배 에네 진수 다 진수 패지 샤리 나서지 되네 당신 냠바 다 당신 냠지로 자다 당신 냠바 다 당용 공부디 심전 타다 리아 지금 랑기 년기 초를 sempa 녀다 지 드라이 초를 sempe게 르모로 코메베직 sem녀면 안다데 당신 냠바서야지 당신 이가 동해민도 대원도 총벌했어야 다 디간에 당신 냠바서 줘야지 다 저기 당신 냠바 되네 랑진징이 고도만을 삼아 현진징이 연도 고도만을 삼아 다 준준네 어다이네 가사디 지된 동행신이 되게 랑든들을 좀 지된 대화신이 되게 현진들을 좀 시소소야 되체 아 쟤는 되윤산에 다들 현재 동에다 야다 저와 마셔나 산재이 또 미루죠 코아나야 대화매 신에다 송샤 디디기 아니 랑진징이 견다 현진징이 연대 삼아 되체 진짜지 성로 숙차고 다니는데 나 간성선에다 현재 주야지 랑도 주야가 탑 초도 주고 싶으시다 통체 다 현재 뭐식 상다시 랭고로 자 진짜 이르자네 어다 다다편의 랑신의 자시고 지대야지 현파 카페 현 자시고 임버지 될 때는 랑직 시부지다 지야게 매되지 부장如果是 상담도 지정의 현재 저기 랑의 평균도 상황 거인데 남주쟁 로리야 진짜 랭고다 자 디디 인도산에 아니 다신 자와스 될 때는 닝심이고 짜도 되네 램바 샤메고 짜도 되네 동 대니 현대 쿠드체가 학삼 대장대 아니 누구인데 그 장주고 쌤 기하다디 다심줄로 ចេញ 송도 ចេញ 딱 보면 안 돼. 띠머리. 맞아도 남주 들으시겠다. 공부하래. 남주 공부다 들으시래.
So in this the advanced capacity, one of the main aim at the initial stage is to cultivate this altruistic intention, aspiration to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings, and the benefit of beings equal to the expanse of space, infinite number of sentient beings, and so this kind of bodhicitta, the altruistic aspiration, really it can arise on the basis of cultivation of two aspirations. One is aspiration for bringing about others' welfare. The other one is the aspiration to attain Buddhahood for their sake. And here, in Vimukti Sena's commentary on Ornament of Clear Realization, Vimukti Sena says that a Bodhisattva practitioner, with his cultivation of compassion, directs his thought onto other sentient beings, and with his cultivation of the aspiration of Buddhahood, directs his thought to the actual enlightened state. And so you need both these elements, one focusing on the enlightenment, other focusing on the welfare of other sentient beings. And when these two come together, then bodhicitta arises, the altruistic aspiration to attain Buddhahood arises. And so when Vimukti Sena says that it is with wisdom, Bodhisattva focuses on enlightenment, what the point he's making is that in order to develop a genuine aspiration to attain Buddhahood, enlightenment, one must develop a deeper understanding of the nature of enlightenment, what enlightenment is. And this is where the role of wisdom becomes important. And compassion enables the practitioner to then focus on the welfare of other sentient beings. And so in the context of using wisdom to reflect on the enlightenment, then the teachings on the emptiness becomes relevant. Whereas in the context of cultivating compassion, then you need two other conditions. One is a deeper understanding of the nature of suffering that you wish others to be free of. The other one is cultivating a sense of empathetic connection with other sentient beings for whom you will care, whose welfare you care about. And with respect to cultivating the nature of, understanding the nature of suffering, then the teachings on the Four Noble Truths become relevant, which the practitioner would have already kind of gone through before. And with, however, it is the second condition, which is the cultivating this sense of connection with other sentient beings, empathetic connection. Here, in the tradition, there are two principal methods. One is the 7-point cause and effect method. The other one is the Shantideva's method of exchanging and equalizing self and others. And later, a tradition developed where the two methods are combined into a kind of So, in fact, these two methods are understood to have different lineages. The 7-point cause and effect method comes from what is called the lineage transmission of the vast practice, and the exchanging and equalizing self and others instruction stems from a lineage known as the expansive lineage or expansive practice, and the cultivation of wisdom transmission comes through the lineage of profound lineage and profound view, the lineage of the profound view. So when you combine the two, as it became later the tradition, you begin with cultivation of equanimity first, where you kind of counter your natural tendency to discriminate, between your friends and foe. So you first cultivate an equanimity towards others, which is then followed by recognition of all beings as your mothers. It need not necessarily be mothers, but someone dear to you. And then, based on that recognition, then you reflect upon their kindness when they were mothers. And then this is followed by a kind of a special reflection on the kindness of other sentient beings, not only when they were biologically related to us, but also the fact that everything that is beneficial in our life really are in one way or another dependent upon others' cooperation and contribution. So in this way, whether in this cyclic existence or even the attainment of enlightenment, all of them are dependent upon contribution of other sentient beings. So recognition of their kindness becomes important. And then, so in Tibet, for example, we even have a kind of a habit of using the phrase, dear old mother sentient beings, old in the sense of not age, but dear mother sentient beings, kind of mature kind of idea. So in fact, in Tibetan, the phrase magen, which means kind of, dear, old mothers, sentient beings, when you use that phrase, you feel a kind of inspired and touched and moved. Whereas if you use the same phrase using a father, like old father sentient beings, pargen has in fact a negative pejorative connotation. Instead of inspiring, it conjures something else. So this reflection upon the kindness of others is then followed by wanting to repay their kindness, the wish to repay their kindness. This is then followed by using equalizing of self and others. Now here, equanimity is not leveling out, but here equanimity refers to a recognition of the fundamental equality of self and others when it comes to aspiration for happiness and wishing to overcome suffering is concerned. So one cultivates that kind of equalizing of self and others. This is then followed by deep reflection upon the shortcomings of excessive self-focus, self-cherishing thought, and benefits of the thought cherishing others' welfare. And here the powerful lines from Shantideva's text, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, are very, very effective. For example, Shantideva says that whatever happiness there are in the world are consequences of thoughts cherishing others' welfare. Whatever problems and sufferings there are in the world are consequences of thoughts cherishing one's own interest and one's own welfare. And then he goes on to say that what point is there to say any more? Simply compare sentient beings who are caught up in their own self-interested pursuit, and the enlightened Buddhas whose thought is always cherishing others' welfare, and simply compare the two. So these are powerful lines which one can use to reflect upon the pros and cons of self-cherishing versus thought-cherishing others' welfare. This is then followed by then actual exchanging of self and others. So just in the past, we cherished our own interest and our own welfare. We neglected and we were oblivious to the welfare of other sentient beings. Now you reverse that stance and you cherish others' welfare more than your own. And this then, so here one really needs to use our, faculty of intelligence and reflect deeply upon the pros and cons. And in fact, if one reflect deeply, one will also come to recognize that even from the point of view of one's own self-interest, cherishing others' welfare and thinking about others and caring for others' welfare is in the long run the best form of fulfilling one's own interest as well. Then this is then followed by Tonglen practice, taking upon oneself the suffering and unhappiness of other sentient beings, which is a practice of compassion, and giving to others one's own happiness, strength, and peace, and so on, which is a practice of loving kindness. And this then leads to arising of an altruistic resolve, wanting to do something about others' suffering, and then ultimately leads to the arising of bodhicitta, which is the altruistic aspiration to attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings.
Oh, yeah. So these practice even is in context of peaceful mind in our daily life. These practice really very effective. So that much I can say through my own experience. Really very effective. So these all, they use our common sense. Through that way, we can develop conviction, and more enthusiasm to practice these things. So through practice, more deeper experience, then you really get some kind of tremendous sort of inner strength that reduces fear and firm sort of determination, no matter what obstacle. So very, very useful, very useful. And then Buddhist practitioner, plus with help of understanding of the emptiness. So combine these two things, very good. And then non-Buddhist, the wisdom side, live it. And then this altruistic mind, that I think common practice. So Christian brothers, sisters, and other sort of Muslim brothers, sisters, you can practice, you can implement such practice. It's very useful, very helpful. That's the issue with the India. That's the day change some lot changni. Remember, that Thoma, yeah, that change some started. That young Maria some. Chig halambe, lure, stand dead, lu nigger chigdua. That's been on Garanyam in that. Don't you thought chig some down a chig tor kayashungi? That change some hallever was a shamburi, that in a cow started some chanting. And you remember those Kumji dance, you understand? And a Kazan, develop a single thing, that Mabarchi gaining, and that day, that Gomna, Gion Sabachi, Gasolbe, Gasolbe 30 years. And the Mutin those communists, and remember, some gross down, and one is so short on there. Some Madonna. Again, chasm in a ramayunage. And Mutin company, and a Kazos, Jamie Nos lived there. 지 그도데 겐지 차바다가 민놈 상당 먹어 랑강게 초식초야 주나다 쩨미기 녀왔어요. 토마 냐모도 주 토마 고아차 되는 저래 양양 상당히 내버려 중세토 다 뒤산에 이니 냐모도 주지 되는 저제 녀와지 되는 쩨미기 녀와지.
So, through training one's mind in the practices of bodhicitta, gradually one can begin to see progresses. Because initially, when we think about an ideal such as bodhicitta, one may feel, yes, it is wonderful, but you may feel that somehow you are too far from it. And I can share that from my own personal experience. Early on in my life, with respect to emptiness, I was feeling much more at home because, by contemplating upon emptiness, by deepening my understanding, I could at least sense what it would taste like to realize emptiness. But at that time, when I thought about bodhicitta, of course, it was a truly admirable ideal, but I felt that it was a bit too far for me. And of course, as a result of continuing to cultivate familiarity with it and deepening my understanding and making the ideal become more and more familiar, personally familiar, then gradually it really begins to change you. You feel deeply convinced of this ideal, and furthermore, you start to feel emotionally connected with that ideal. That's when it really begins to become closer and real, more real for you. And in this way, if we continue to cultivate bodhicitta, first understanding, and then deepening one's understanding, then gradually it will become more and more familiar. And then if we embody it through personal practice, then you will get to a point where, initially, in order to evoke it, you may need to use some effort and thought processes. But gradually, as a result of deepening your experience, you will reach a point where simply encountering a situation where your compassion and bodhicitta is called forth, it automatically, spontaneously arises. So at that point, there is no longer any need for effortful activity in order to invoke that kind of response in you. So that's why in the Buddhist texts, one speaks of different levels of progression in these kind of experiences. Initially, at the level of information and understanding, and then integrating that understanding through one's own personal cultivation. And at one point, when you put an effort in a session, it becomes real. But at that time, although you can experience it, but it still needs an effortful cultivation, but ultimately culminating at a point where it just becomes effortless and it gets elicited spontaneously when the situation arises where the conditions there to arouse it, it spontaneously arises.
대단히 샹저도 저주도 이걸로 점만 부줄이 얘기도 전에 아니 소람세 토이 버려. 다 되지가 소람. 자, 다 되네 똑바야 그 권의 권도 지기다 편로야. 산에 살 편로야 생각이 냠샤고 루지마도 제도 거리야 말이. 저도 저 냠샤고 용이 간다 있는 방식을 지금은 사소소소 뭐게 주머치 뽕야 생각이 배지다 냠샤거리야. 발전면은 지금 배지 용매로 뜻해. 자들이 뭐 인도산에 그 냠샤거렸다. 또 권의 권도 편로야 돼. 자들이 뭐 인도산에 동리기 따와로 금지 때니 동리기 따와로 금주토를 그걸로 졸람터. 아니 동리기 따와 에는 모두 집에 내걸로 통람터. 대내니 신에 통신 관배는 권론다 준비야. 아니 사상만 디디야 준비 사출하면 디디야 준비 전에. 아니 사드베주 사제베 고려야 아니 민주파. 대내 다보사수 내걸이야 시주 년부 장 시주 년부 때니 시주 장. 되네. 가사데 콜로도지도 띵진 타네. 에는 뭐 좀. 구시던 이거 산지고 도야사. 근데 말이. 프로젝트를 하면 된다 되시. 아당 아주 남주한테 실현이 못 되는데 가데 빠란 거데 빠라삼 거데 부디서 와서야 되시.
So when the practitioner has successfully cultivated bodhicitta at the point where it becomes effortless and spontaneous, and that marks the practitioner having entered the first of the 5 levels of path, the path of accumulation. And then when this practice is combined with the realization of emptiness, and then progressively the practitioner kind of moves along the path. When the person has gained a union of tranquil abiding and vipassana, insight into emptiness, at that point one has reached the second path, which is the path of linking. And then when the realization becomes direct, the realization of emptiness becomes direct and embodied or direct, then the path of seeing has been attained, and then through cultivation, further cultivation, the practitioner will reach the path of meditation and eventually traverse through the 10 Bodhisattva bhumis, the 10 Bodhisattva stages, and on the 8th, all the afflictions and their imprints are removed, and then from the 8th point onwards, even the subtle imprints of obscurations are being eliminated, and then finally culminates in the attainment of Buddhahood, embodied in the form of what is known as the union of the 4 kayas, or the 4 Buddha bodies. And this is the meaning also of the mantra that you find at the end of Heart Sutra, Gade, Gade, Paragade, Parasamgade Bodhe Soa. So once you have gained some degree of experience of bodhicitta, then one sustains that bodhicitta by participating in a ceremony, sustains that aspirational aspect of bodhicitta.
최대한 담중만 쇼라 매도도 그거보다 진조바에 쳐봐서 구사셔를 송고 쳐봤나뭐 된다자 장주님부 타도고 매도고 있습니다. 구조숨도 저듯이 비밀한 사주네 태무자와 전에 당고 장주량 송차 되네 숨자 다자라 잠배서는 뭔데 다디 뒤두고 뭐인데 장주량 송차 저서 다디네 숨자 다자라 잠배서는 뭔데 냐수숨 당 계속도 치부소지 동네에 로마를 라떼데 동네진의 동네와 동네 주제지 저 탈반 되바이 또고면 담제에 전주선을 깨봐자 스타디기 매매 적었어야 돼. 다 대단매매 섬다니 깨배 연대 강의 뭐 되는 동북거바인 놀래 참여도 시. 대인 놀아봐 라마 내년에 저배 전주선 연대 타면 남을 쉐버를 차라 됐네. 주제도 대자 양의 양도 섬을 깨봐자. 배신 지신 도달에 대수는 접대 뭐 강지 실제 순서도 누드반에 듣지자. 전주 실제 순하고 달라게도 수제나 남각하는 건가를 되는 대화 하고 관계심에 당연히 이게 사실 신남 미관계 리지다 건가를 정 지된 걸로 배워 관계 때문에 저기디 자주 돈에 셈되는 처반에는 개발아 봐. 달라타는 뭐 시소. 다지는 럽지디 자주 몇몇다 깨내는 바방부 군도 빼주신 니니 깨와 현동아 장전도 전전도 지게셔로 러방 요소 전화도 되기 멤버십 송야다.
So the text goes on from beginning of the ceremony by taking refuge in the 3 jewels. So it says from stanza 7, facing paintings, statues and so forth of the completely enlightened one, reliquaries and the excellent teaching, offers flowers, incense, whatever you have, with a 7-part offering from the prayer of the noble conduct, with a thought never to turn back till you gain ultimate enlightenment. And then it goes on to explain that, having proceeded by making the offerings with strong faith in the 3 jewels, kneeling with one knee on the ground and your hands pressed together, first of all take refuge 3 times And then next, it explains the affirmation of the bodhicitta aspiration. Next, beginning with an attitude of love for all living creatures, consider beings, excluding none, suffering the three bad rebirths, suffering birth, death, and so forth. And then since you want to free these beings from the suffering of pain, from the suffering and the causes of suffering, arouse immutably the resolve to attain enlightenment. And then it explains the qualities of developing such an aspiration are fully explained by the Maitreya. So it explains the benefits. In the area of Trunk Sutra, having learned about the infinite benefits of the intention to gain full enlightenment by reading the sutra and so forth. And then in the next, in stanza 15, it says, referring to the merits of benefits of generating bodhicitta, it says, if it possessed physical form, the merit of altruistic intention would completely fill the whole of space and exceed even that. And then in stanza 18, it then explains what are the precepts that one must observe, what are the practices one must engage in as a result of having cultivated that aspirational aspect of bodhicitta. It reads, having developed the aspiration for enlightenment, constantly enhance it through concerted effort to remember it in this and also in other lives, keep the precepts properly as explained.
This one. Oh yeah. That didn't you some done you don't want to work. Yada number power you may so much to don't bend to be teaching baby didn't never lungs. That you don't language, you don't love it, do be any because we're beginning to Yamne, the Jane Duzane, any Juxum said Chaviari. You do love it, do be any Chindu Yamning, Chav Massivici, Sam Kishavati, member Sam said, that's the change on you gave it one chance. That did it without Thomas Yalia. Jerusalem Thomas, then so to have a reading, Dado don't send them or the Jerusalem Thomas, Gawa, you send the means, then chalk on the Shabbat. So to have a reading to Jishavi Shabbat, Sanju Pani, Sanju Penny Choy in the Galon of Bata to ship. Jerusalem Satani, Sudum Liu, some Chogai, Yada singing them by Lama Santa Tomalang, Dombe Choga Cabata, my Dombe Choga La Cata, the new Constitution, the Bomo Sunijin, the Lama Samu Shivacha. Tell him, baby, didn't get the Lama Manina, tell a shan, don't never Choga and the Shavacha. That's just a Domati, Tenji Junior Lunch already. Sotaka Domata, Naji Domati, Injimiji, Lamachi Tune, Lengu Yari. She just a Domati, Kaja Lama Manina, and a Tenji Junior Lunch already. That Della tell a shan, don't never Choga and the Shavacha. Tell him, Mrs. Jambebe. Avarams of Cuba in Jide, Chidra Chanju took Java, Jambek in the Sanjation, Gangan Dolly Shavatar, Tishin Dinner City. Gomuna Jangan of Sobation to Semkin Jing, draw Tamja Jundu near Tada, Koa letter law, Nesum Troy Semi, the Senate on the Tadani, Tennis with the Shanjuta, Toyapato Mijo, Sample Shava Jash, didn't have a bounce. Children Domba, Lagave, Sanjations of lovers, the new is in the Shanjuta Midushin.甚至几个月人前面没得那么差，前面上就没这边行到那么长差，明年送往家吧，他处处打赌，人处处打赌那么呢，大概率到哪个了，他们这都呢他过差，一个来讲他说的每个人呢没少，让个两个是呢，那么大就就被甚至等于他们那边这种老百姓了，那个呢，这种老百姓了开始就台湾那么大早上就三百多百，多么大呢？Bever Cheve, Chaw Changju, Chaw also Soban Yu Sen. Other dig Judum Laya
Then the text goes on to explain the need to take the Bodhisattva vows so that one's cultivation of bodhicitta does not remain only at the level of aspiration but becomes engaging bodhicitta. And the distinction between aspiration versus engaging is really made on the basis of whether or not one takes a bodhisattva vow and then engages in the practices of the 6 perfections. So if one simply cultivates the aspiration and does not engage in the 6 practices, then one's bodhicitta becomes at the level of aspiration alone. On the other hand, if one takes the bodhisattva vows and then engages in the bodhisattva practices of the 6 perfections, then it becomes an engaging bodhicitta. So from stanza 19, it explains, for example, it reads, without the vow of the engaged intention, perfect aspirations will not grow. Make effort definitely to take it, since you want the wish for enlightenment to grow. And then the text goes on to explain, who's the ideal person to take such a vow. The text says that the highest person to do that is someone with a individual liberation vows as the basis. And then it explains what are the other conditions needed and what is the procedure and so on. And then in stanza 24, it says that, however, in case you try but cannot find such a spiritual teacher, I shall explain another correct procedure by taking the vow. So the point being made here is that bodhisattva vow is something that you can actually take without the presence of a good teacher. You can take it in the presence of representation of the Buddha or some other representation without the presence of another human being in front of you. And this is different, unlike the Vinaya, individual liberation vow, where you need to take it from a person. Similarly, for tantric vows, you have to take it from a person. But the bodhisattva vows can be taken in the presence of a representation of the Buddha. And then it goes on to explain what is that procedure. In stanza 33, it reads, therefore, through effort in the vow made by bodhisattvas for pure, full enlightenment, the collections for complete enlightenment will be thoroughly accomplished.
개헌디 교군 수남시 차서다 수남시 내주 담박군이 더블 쇼스체니 선도도 이식 차스체니 대니 현준 수구다 아니 랑든 추구서야 된 주야 소물이 선하고 차도 이식 차서다 그러려서나 가사 야 단 누구입니다 우문주고 있을 가사 나베지부터는 저 나베서도 못 가서 구조진 상향가고 제조고 구조진이 상향가고 제조고 나베지부터는 가서 저 나베 눈으로는 개는 그 수도지 개는 자주 바로 초동조 선송샤기 지 군조진이스 다 군조 담바시베 선하고 차게 쇼거지 단담 담바시베 이식 차게 쇼거지 대대는 답쇼 숭지기 타네 아니 가서 우리 벽에 살람 드네 아니 터도니 남지고 방문도 샤워래 신 송도가 다시 나가다 시 군수 템버스야디 마다 마제베 그 로를 샤데야게다 최전 나서고 지 대다 동해다 지 되게 남자 먹고 이거 때 디디가 타네 딱 간다 지 샹든도 심기야 아니 샹은 집어도야 지 샹은 나버담이야 사고도 양도 이지담이야 다 디디기 선하고 좋아지지 그저 템벌을 다되네 대권단이 단돈 때문에 애니다 샤양기 애네 람디 다 두마 루직사들이 남 최생은 남다 두마 나서고시 요리데 대탐지 최지 인수 러시버지 가르스라는 최지 인수 뒤상으로 찍이 믿기지 말이지 대탐자로 원이기 주변 동에人心 될 상으로 찍고 차대요. 찍주 차대요. 들이 일산에 로식 사야지. 다리야 나도 되니 샤야기 야 다시 샤바 용도 가버리. 강다야 안들디 딱 간다 루직 도마 루직사야. 다 디타네 군속은 냠는 디디 군속스네면도 턱이 순하고 저거 냠는 디디 나서베 나와 디디는 용대야. 아니 이식 소화해야 돼. 나서베 나와는데 탐지 최인수 로직베 디신이도 제지도 냠버셔. 로디지도 하는 거 하지. 와다 되리. 처는 용수 조건줄. 선은 이식 정신이 처는 용수 조건이 dunni sanje tamchada nganshi jeba hilushi. Chidan daksha majebe chani khala purmini dishi nganshi tamchebe semshen tuanshi nimayi. Nganshi dembe nizi sunam dani kanyin te nganshi dada chayjula gyawa jana yomayin. Nyudu zoba chayjula so yonsu zoba ndogyuba teni bhe chen nganshi dan ruba juji lele min. Shina ruba mayinba nganshi jungwa mingila tiji shina ruba shi yanda yanda meba chaas. Chene da dendrige da cho zoya 다 이식 소소할 때 동익 따와 고민하듯이 아니 동익 따와 그러다 지 가서래 되게 쉬하게 동일을 미고 공중시럽게 하는 신내가 좋아하셔 버거다 신내가 좋아도 되나 에다 가서 이 지지 삼자동 코아이 자와주베 누가 마동신 신내 남다들 시럽기 지성 지향 영웅 믿어배 생성해야 돼. 저상고 신라 송직 도구도가. 그러니까 인도산에 이식서 다 권의 공도 배야래 신내고요래. 선하고 소사하게 지 현존 주야래 현지 감도 넣어봐도 시에 타네. 아니 현지 지고 제고요래. 현지 감도 넣어봐 지무시 시에보다 다들 태게 감도 넣어봐 좀더 모임 봐. 뭔지 박사 근데 이디 시행하시도와 다 현존에 가서 필요시부 좀 뭐지 있나 자 다들 인도산에 뭐시들이 개쳐요래 당연히 좀 뭐시 명인데다 모집는 주주래 내가 지금 뭐시 처리디 다 모든 방구사죠 그 어디 모든 방구도 주주다 제제 어디 도서니 가담 신의 현존 주야다 자기한다 아니 신의 주고레스 아다지 삼자도 숨이 던도 년이 아니 신의 주고 매버체 간다이니 현존 주야 남진 주베체도 그게 다 현존 제야다 남진 주실 수가 없다 간다 더도 남진 주 현존 주야다 남진 던도 년 차도 있나야 현존 감도 매버도 참아지야리야다 진대가데 신에게 떠버리고도 스타지 송겨야래.
Then in stanza 34 we read all the Buddhas say the cause for completion of the collections whose nature is merit and exalted wisdom is the development of higher perception. So here the reference to the two collections of wisdom and merit really points to the main practices of the Bodhisattva, which is the practices of the six perfections. And the six perfections can be subsumed into the two collections of merit and wisdom, because they also relate to the practices pertaining to the conventional level of truth and ultimate level of truth. For example, in Nagarjuna's dedication at the end of his 60 stanzas on the middle way, 60 stanzas of reasoning, he makes the aspiration that may through the virtue of composing this text, may all sentient beings be able to accumulate the two collections of merit and wisdom and actualize the Buddhahood, that's the union of the Buddha body of truth and Buddha body of form, Rupakaya and Jnanakaya. And similarly, so he correlates the Buddha's two bodies with the two aspects of the collection of merit and wisdom. Similarly, in Chandrakirti's entering the middle way, he compares the practices of the conventional truth versus the practices of the ultimate truth as two wings of a powerful bird, and which through the combination of the two wings can soar higher into the expanse of reality and then traverse the path to the other shore of attainment of Buddhahood. So now when we understand the entire path in terms of the two accumulations of merit and wisdom, then the merit aspect has to do with the conventional level of truth, because merit's aspect has to do with the level of multiplicity. So therefore, practices such as generosity, cultivation of altruistic intention, restraining from excessive self-interest and focus, all of these practices are relevant, and cultivation of compassion and so on. Whereas when you engage in the practices connected with the ultimate truth, then it is the unity, not the diversity, that is the focus. And here unity refers not to saying that everything is one, but within the sphere of ultimate nature of reality, all phenomena ultimately share the same nature of being empty, of inherent existence. So the focus at the level of ultimate truth practice is really on this unity, not a diversity. And in this way, the two accumulations are cultivated. And then the text then goes on to explain the importance of cultivating shamatha, tranquil abiding. And in this text, the cultivation of tranquil abiding is explained in terms of its role for assisting the practitioner to bring about others' welfare, both in terms of gaining ultimate enlightenment for the benefit of all beings, for which the direct realization of emptiness is a necessity, and the direct realization of emptiness can only take place when there is a union of tranquil abiding shamatha and insight vipassana. And furthermore, even in the immediate term, to assist the practitioner whose aspiration is altruistic and wanting to help other sentient beings, to assist the practitioner to be more effective in serving others, and the practitioner needs to also cultivate tranquil abiding so that he or she can gain a kind of a heightened perception or a kind of higher cognition, so they can intuit more effectively what the specific mental dispositions of the individuals are, what the specific needs are, including even influences coming from previous lifetimes. And those who do not have that kind of capacity then of course have to rely on doing divinations of throwing the dice and guessing on that basis. But the point here is that the shamatha, the tranquil abiding, is sought not for its own sake, but as a means of, affecting one's service of bringing about others' welfare. And then the text and then it explains on stanza 43. So we finish at the end of stanza 38, so where it reads, without the attainment of calm abiding, higher perception will not occur, therefore make repeated effort to accomplish calm abiding.
And when they had the shining. Then we see Migwa Gumduzane, Migwa Konu, Chigdal, Yinikela Shapa Chas. That's it. That Delia, Migwala, any Chirini, Kazari, just on the day. Kevin Migwada, Chabanamju Migwada, or Dana Shigini, that's the name of Migwamongo, Chigda Medasun Hudua. That's all day. 가다이니 미긴 치 미긴 달래 당보면 난게 당보부 된대기 지금 원위시방에 민국 체시 미국지 가는 샤르든데 치가 샤나 요구도와 얘네 조조디 그래서 띵인지 숙년스럽네 검제 넘버 英语的笑话钱，真这个英语的笑话，那么的 딩인지 송년스요. 다 텔라니 미고 때. 딩인지 왕실을 주고 말했어. 딩인지 일을 주고요. 그래서 이실 주고요. 그래서 이전에 딩인지 미고디 일을 샤가지고요. 다 될래야 아니 지 변화 지금 매다다 지금 아니 딘데 디 넘버 디 일을 샤와체니 다 대가는 미고 제시도 샤나 저기요. 다양 지금 소수비게다 최대 예정이 지금이나 그런 식 이슈이는 식 그런 메리소 미드는 샤야서 양지 크로스도 미드는 샤야 다 나는 식 변화 식 지금 무슬림 공장에 지금이나 다 군족 넘버를 전에 과하게 면에 따면 메카소를 줄어야 샤와체 지금 되게 전에 공연 연구를 받아 다 산재의 처지는 지단전은 통한 구진의 뉴는 검체 이 검바이나 파타르는 지 너무 강한식 다참 태면이 소수 민정 타야돼 아니 통한 구치 춘중식 인지직 지금 통하고 어차 구순 지부에 되어 되는 지금 지부에 되어 지금 매바치아지 샤베이나 지부 매바치아는 그지 그냥 남도의 개발기 심 초야다 팬딩하지 초교마요 팬딩하지 다 구수 남바데 회사와 상담나 지원 야 마요야를 팬도에 되지 다 도스는 미긴 시세다 다야 나가 저거도 되니 류니기 지금 장고 지니 가다지 정론 틀리 진들을 미고 때야 다 정론 틀서 다 가다 장고들을 미고 따야 양 안고를 미고 따야 야 로 시바 거라 아니 나버로를 샤와체체 셈을 미고 신의 고민도 전에 다 셈 대베 남도 잘 뭐죠 마음배 차군 라면도 뒤에 껴 뭐죠 세 아니 공연 시에 제소이 만장체 아니 이루 똑뭐 코레 가는 독서 내대비나 똑뭐 소모 맞죠 봐 헤드 자드시 로디 헤드 도스 샤나 때 남도 그 진소리도 봐도 탱배 그돌이야 아니 시에병오 세점 직점 영상 그等이지 로리야 즉 샤야지 다 진짜기니 시에 세점 직점기 뭐로 들으시 로리 샤인도스네 대가다 미기는 샤는 고미야디 선을 신내 고미야 독신 말에 다 진짜기 미기 간섬 지 로리야 세보를 대퇴할 중고도나 지금 까마카시아를 텐데 그래 추주직 좀 대표 그로 대퇴하지 미국 코레가는 로산이 대하지 연구도는 아니 진짜기 셈디 야 중년 조선부 창제네 아니 셈디기 춘이 대바 단을 받네 된적이니 셈 단동데 아니 제주도 그렇게 꼬매야지 내가 단동 단을 법인에서는 째고로 왔다 째니 째탈라 각성기 지금 거기 동배 넘버스로 샤이드스네 이제 대개가 팬이 샤니 라를 잡아 미시고 양지 den동기 비게 그 냠을 먹고 야 또서 라로 친체 슈르트만 연구도네 이한 잡아체 야 데미긴 예봐 슈신 장 데미긴 예봐 슈셔부지 비게 토데베 그도 돼 이냐 다해가로 팬이 저하잖아요. 다디 아니 다도는 공부처였어야 돼. 그래서 누구야? 다시 다도 공도는 따와줘야. 다도는 공부처야. 다 안되디 그냥 선을 신내주 되네니 스미 춘이와 상담이잖아요. 공도는 따와줘야 소리지. 다양 동이 따와 상담 뒤에바로 그로 토비스 대가가로 팬인 줄 알지. 배주 제인지 다도는 공부처야서. 다디 르 차바리 원부 놀려다 지금 박사 상료다 저기 다 잡아도 와 어디를 셔 당연히 그냥 당구직 라라르디 운동 장장이야 도스 로테시 지인나 거야 미국 참모인 봐 야 미국하고 치료를 이행되어서 내 면대에 그 일루디 운동 짱짱 상다도 선에 차르베 운동 구부 집집에 구분이 쓰지 구분 없주 구부다 동 전에 심신도 켜내 맞춰진 다 짱짱로도 스텝이나 르 남중가서 로티페 짱짱 로디도 그뒤네 딱고소 되니 미부지 간에 산이 돼야 굶지 된다 굶지 정다고도 시규리샤.
Then the text goes on to explain in from stanza 39 the conditions that are necessary to be gathered in order to engage in a single-pointed practice of cultivating calm abiding. And then it explains, for example, in stanza 40, it says that place the mind on any one virtuous focal object. So this is when you are cultivating calm abiding shamatha, you need to cultivate an object of your meditation. And in the text there are many different types of objects mentioned. But for example, one can choose an external object like a flower as your focus of cultivation of single-pointedness. And in some cases there are texts where the instruction is given where you keep your eyes open and continually, without distraction, look at the object in front of you. But although there are instructions like that for beginners, but generally when we cultivate an object of meditation of shamatha, actually the object is being cultivated at the mental level, not at the sensory level, because the text speaks of the image of the meditation. And and when you, for example, if you are a religious person, then you may choose to have focus on an object that has some meaning for you, a special meaning for you. For example, for the Christian practitioners, it could be a cross, or it could be the face of Virgin Mary. And for Muslim practitioners, for example, it could be the image of Mecca. And for the Buddhists, it could be the image of the Buddha, the image of a Buddha in front of you. And ideally, the distance should be about a full sort of arm stretch length in front of you, and the size about an inch in height. And the image of the Buddha should be visualized something that is bright and also kind of heavyish, and the kind of imagining it to be heavy helps you feel more grounded so that your mind doesn't get distracted, and imagining it to be quite bright guards against mental sinking, sort of, so that you don't kind of go into a drowsy state of mind. So having a bright but also kind of heavyish object in front of you, and in the case of tantric practitioners, one also uses a different kind of object of meditation, such as chakras, energy centers, and also kind of a wheel of mantra at specific locations within the body. But in some cases, one can also use the mind itself to be the object of shamatha practice. In this case, first one needs to cultivate the image itself. So for that, one needs to be in a state where you do not allow your mind to be distracted by thoughts stretching back to the past, a memory or recollection of some experience, nor should you allow your mind to be captured by something projecting into the future, like anticipation, hopes, fears, and so on, but try to remain fully present in the present moment, awareness, and allow the mind to be rested in its own natural state without any effort or exertion, simply allowing it to be naturally at ease with itself. And initially, it may, and also not allowing your mind to be chased by sensory modalities or sensory perceptions. So simply remaining in that state, and then as you become more habituated to this kind of cultivation, you begin to experience a sense of kind of, a mere experience, mere subjectivity, and mere awareness, just simple awareness. And then you choose that as your object and remain single-pointedly focused on this. And so whatever object you may choose, be it external object or one's own mind, as a result of sustained cultivation of shamatha, if you are able to maintain your focus, undistracted for minutes at a time, eventually for an hour at a time, and then one should, for example, if you have chosen your mind to be the object of your meditation, then you should inquire into, once you have attained that kind of stability of focus, then you use that stability to then enter into an inquiry into, for example, where does mind arise, where does it go, and kind of reflecting upon its deeper nature of reality, and in this way cultivate an understanding of the ultimate nature of the mind, which is emptiness. So in that respect, you do need to engage into inquiry, critical inquiry. And once, as a result of your inquiry, you have arrived at the point where you have come to recognize that mind does not possess inherent objective existence, then at that point you cease the discursive analysis, but simply place your mind restful on this the conclusion that you have arrived at without any distraction and wavering. And as you maintain this, as the kind of the force of the awareness of emptiness comes to diminish, then again you reapply the inquiry and engage in reasoning. And in this way, you kind of alternate between abiding single-pointedly without analysis and then reapplying analysis, and in this way. So therefore, in the text, one speaks of cultivating view on the basis of cultivating meditation or cultivating meditative state through the kind of approach of first seeking the view. So that depends upon individuals as well. But for most of us, perhaps the more convenient and helpful object of our shamatha practice would be our breathing. So, and the advantage of using breath as the object of meditation is that it is not as gross as any external material object, nor is it too subtle like a mind so that you don't capture what it is. So, and breath is something that you naturally do. So if you choose your breath to be the focus of your meditation, then it helps us teach how to somehow bring our mind together, collect our mind together, because normally our mind is just so scattered. It just wanders away like kind of scattered, but by focusing on the breath, and you start counting initially up to 21, so you include both the inhalation and exhalation as one round, so one cycle. So you include both inhalation and exhalation as one cycle and count up to 21, and then repeat it. Eventually you can count up to 50 without losing your attention, and then up to 100, even up to 1,000, without being distracted and without losing your attention. And in this way you will cultivate the habit of gathering your mind together and not being distracted by kind of scattering thoughts. And in this way cultivate shamatha, calm abiding.
가다다 쌤 미벌이야 제시도 내알이야 바로 주야겐디 초치기 내 거봐 아니 초아체 또 거봤을 때 되샤 유를 쳐대고 쓰기요 다 초교니 초았을 때다 되샤가 차도 뭐인게 다 지달로 봐 개화를 지 커도야 커도 그 미견의 현도 개화로 개와 있는 거 초아 중요해 자상하다 초교지 되게 직세 미국 내시 미국을 내니 양파 성직 증대에서로 nhập 대에서로 제외이나 양고 chiwa yungu yare. Chiwa sana, kazasune, chi uyu pa gadreb, yon yungu yare de, ine, chiwa sawa ina, namju nivaru kuma, galil yung chinche, chik dos pake, lemba chaya, ko dindri samu chungku mewa chaya, dindri yuanduwa. So dindri yundu zane, sem, choya mewa, mikden kama newa. Neni, sempe nyabdawari mayi babe, chung doge shi dedu, shita di gugu yare. So dadi, sempang tochadu, chogo yungu yare. Sempang machana, jiwa yungu yare. Pang temen remba, jiga tane, yangu yare. Da susu nyamyong jiga rujurda.
So when cultivating shamatha, there are several main obstacles that come in the way. One set of obstacle prevents us from simply being able to focus. So this has to do with mental scattering. It's a completely scattered mind. Prevents us from being able to focus. But there is also what is known as mental excitation, which has to do with, being kind of, swayed by attraction to things that are desirable. So mental excitation also prevents us from being able to maintain our focus. So these are two main obstacles for maintaining our focus. But even if we have maintained our focus, if we do not have a kind of a vibrant state of mind, then it is not very efficient. So therefore, another obstacle that one needs to guard against is kind of a mental laxity, kind of a sinking kind of feeling. So even though one's mind may be settled, but if there's no vibrancy, then there is no alertness. And then although one may be in a restful kind of, quietened state, but without that alertness, without that vibrancy, then if one continue to remain habituated to that kind of sinking kind of state, then it can even make one more dull, because it sort of dulls one's critical faculty. So you need to, essentially one needs to maintain a very balanced state of mind, not too heightened, which is the which is the result of being overexcited, or not too downcast, which is the result of sinking and laxity. And this is something that one needs to judge according to one's own personal experience, which is where is the real balanced state.
That is what it is. Najashine, Drugan, Mishita, Drugan Jurs. That Shirapar Chinjo, the Terror to the Samin, teaching young, she developed Pambichir, Shirapar Chin, Nanjo, Dado, Tubja Combercha. Tub the Trevor, Shiro Trevor, Tubda, Conjicho, she is there in the Pambicha. That the name Shiro Kanda, Tukanji, Tuzum, and Pambichir, Tumdan, Shiro, Yanda, or Sawacha. Shirapar Chin, Pangbe, Jimbe Chin, so. 개회전을 탐자다 야원남기 특수시 특공원게 등이 강시 실험 남공부 대니 정중 유도 남의 지구 공부 민 탑시 송지고야 되지 다 실험 공부 그랬을라나.
Then from stanza 41 we read that when the practitioners gain calm abiding, higher perception will also be gained, but without practice of the perfection of wisdom, the obscuration will not come to an end. And in stanza 46, the author writes, whoever under the influence of familiarity with skillful means cultivates wisdom will quickly attain enlightenment, not just by meditating on selflessness. And then so here the role of wisdom is explained. So then the question is, what exactly is the content of that wisdom? What is that wisdom?
다들咱们就我们说풍부함다 기지는 깨워매고 도주고 정시동이 셔반이 실업진의 용수 셰 다들 들으시 상다 이것도 콜로 담불코도리아 den시송님 다 den시 코죽도 그 림바 실도 짜인도 전에 된래나 중니 송으로 와. 다 된래나 중니 송인도 전에 묘몽 송요래, 래 송요래, 아니 동해체 아니 풍부 다들 송야래 풍부 지지 먹고 송 다 근데나 주니 코르겐데 소리스로나 인주 다 들어봐 이제 전다 송도 봐 뭐송야지 뭐버근도 나리야 디 풍부 지지 그 송네 디 dom을 경인도 산에 디 풍부 지지 잠레스 텔레 양거도 아니 다 매봐 아니 거여체도 아니 다 수두송야 말이었으니 뭐 근데는 디셔경도 다 들이 인도전에 콜로 잡을 것들이야 대리에 나중에 두 순인도전에 강사가 다 매봐지 땡용이야 자 풍금 지지도 이리 송샤다 지도전에 다 풍불을 되신 것들 봐 세야 된다리야 다 남샤 무송체 다 가는 데는 딱왜 시 덕시 풍속 쇼지 송 서다 풍속 쇼지 예바 시샤르지 나도 나오는 시 예바 시샤르지 송도 다 시신이 되어 그돌이야 배낭 가지고 실은이 붙던데도 풍풍하고 대다 짱 러시지 동반나 봐 야다 봐서 따오 전에도 풍속 쇼지에 대해 원이 뭐 저거 그래서 송도 지난 짱도 되게 강사 러시지 뭐 저거서도 마세베 풍속 쇼지에 러시지 뭐 저거 그래서 아주 송도 다 대안다 또네 풍속 쇼지리 역시 풍속이 원이지 뭐주나 대를 때는 딱다 원이지 뭐주고 따시면 사실 고용으로 사진이 인도 풍부한데 기시는 깨워면 또 주베스 풍부 계시기 쇼지리 미다거래 계시기 지구던 일이 교요하래 안서 놀이야 교뭐 제부스로 샤인도 전에 전쟁면에 여버지 놀샤이고도 교교라지 마도 교제부스라고 그 제부처럼 말고 교교라지 되그랬어 이 제부께야데 그 정신이 깨버려 마도 남도 그저 말했어 똑바 강소소 말했어 다 원이지 유딩이 예배 주지를 경원 제부스도 계실 거예요 자 근데 인도산에 저는 원이지 주지를 경제기 된중도 수 거예요 수 원이지 주지를 거예요 경제 다가 장네 딱 원이지 뭐 주버렸어 원이 뭐 주베다 원이지 뭐 주버다 중요하지 이 그래서는 되게 쉬운 것이지 경제 사야지 경제 지기 저하지 때네 뒤주기 버치기 다 안에 냠 서들잖아요 저우 줄을 때가서도 마세베 규대한 저우를 때가 됐어 그래서 규코라 랑자를 때는 규샤를 마도 랑줄을 때는 저부를 봐 진짜 규든 저부 사야지 때에 거는 샤야 마도 원이지 된딩네 규 랑신도 예대가 좀 민도가 사들이 인도산에 고불루루 패시디 뭐 전도 이거다 전도 나려야 개등관의 정신이 예벌 지서 따잖아 대단한 뭐고 윤재명을 쳐다오 윤재명을 쳐다오 저 정도가 저는 레르와 때는 주변면은 아니 저부터 줄을 떼고 말아 저는 저부 때문에 상황도 주변이나 규정 떼고 말아 자 지금 인도산에 아니 하람 제비슈디 규밀이 깨워지다 하람 샤오로 줄을 맞잖아 줄을 깨고 하게 돼 자 지금 인도산에 대선배 자와다 제법보다 자벨레 또 3월로 때는 샤바시다 뭐도 믿어 봐 자 지금 인도 가는 지금 가면 남샤 먼고지 지 때네 샤샤지 중주로 싸운다네 다들 대신을 넣으셔야지 마도 공원이 주버지 유딩네 누구서 여대버지 다 매대버지 사비스타르셔 진짜 인도자를 풍부감도 지지는 깨우면 또 주에서 풍부감도 지지 여래디 봐 다시잖아 니야요 말이지 귤이 깨버리 귤이 깨다도 다시잖아 니야요 말이지 귤을 디샴도 송여다 가서 다른 식이 뭘 잡아 있나요 니야요 말이지 제부면에 잡아 있나야 원이 좀 니야요 말이지 근데 인도 진짜로다 당시에 당니 정신동이 셔버니 싫어지는 용서 셔스 여버져 링면데 매번 나가 매도신 네번 이걸 타주지 네가 다죠 좀 민사되게 제부면에 제인들선에 여미진 거 같은지 제부 뭐지 원이 주여나 원이 주여나 줄되고 말이지 저상 여봐 깨지고 말이지 매버지는 그 때문에 매버지 마도 그규 제퇴야 봐 귤사도 쳐야 말이지 여바제와 림인데 매번 나게 매도시 여번 이거 대주시 이거 다 주민 딱 유문의 제인도 전에 줄을 줘도是没定我不让人没记性闲来没记闲下的明明他这个闲什么吧我你的闲人呢偏是对方给的偏是对面去了对面呢闲了在那给这些种那我那些的没东西说呢是闲来讲呢还想跳胖一多上的人就闲堂你个来讲没有没来这一些我的人心没양나 저는 참자다 지도 되면 남자는 뭐를 주고 다 지도 되게 된 지사들이 최초도 된 무엇이도 전에 그지 때네 역시 지도 때네 어디 곧 주인 거로 봐 dakshi 준 거로 dakshi 진치로 dak시 거로 그 dak시 dak시 겨로 자 딱고 dak시 그랬을 때 샤나 자지지도 차도야 그 dak시 그런 거는 마샤버신 들레 챤도 샤나 그거니 가서 덕심에 다시 차인 거다. 그래서 그 회사 되는 거 되지 봤다. 저는 찍도 두면 남자는 뭔지 찍도 두가 뭔지 다들 두가 세에 있는 예매다. 그래서 근데 찍도 두면 남자는 뭔이는 memebe 러시아에 니도 yes. 다 대다 동니 주지 보다. 우모 싸워서래 讲我不能有人心里东关你都主下吧康熙兄弟忙就别提醒真的马着了这边中的上学都光别从这都写대회 처는 뭐를 왜 정시단의 미미배 다음에 번호 공간이 니는 싫어 공부 인 싫어진 처는 그 관계는 심 마통신 어떤 게 뜻이야 니는 싫어 공부 인 단 너는 리뷰 개고 된주를 보셔야 돼 안다디 윤정 공수로 쨘베지고 이게 저 dom저윤도 때내다고 사대감 저대가 그래 다 때내다고 인상 원이 주민도 선다 줘야 돼. 지상 공부를 자시로 다 잡지 개 치슈디 잡지 저시버지. 그래서 저시be 나라야 창에 야지 우모벌 견주 뒤 차상마 송 소시티 차상마 송니 따라봐 랭견이 있잖아요. 아니 저기 있는 동원이 그봐. 동원이 뭐 동원이 대마셔 그래서. 다 동원이 되는데 가르스러나 아니 땡진 저번 중앙 되는 동원이도 시. 되는 때는다고 드닝 우면 라면 넣었어. 디지든 좀 뭐이 총에 보면 뭐. 디지 동원이 총에 보면 넣었어. 전에 어디 중시들이. 자, 드는 일산에 좀 이제 탈도 있는데 때는다고 했어야 돼. 조용 거야. 나는 때는다고 했어야 돼. 탄이 있어야 돼. 누워야 알았어. 자, 들어야 남주 우면 중에 리베 개고 땡디기 땡식 송셔야 돼.
So from stanza 47, the meditation on emptiness, the reflection on emptiness is explained. It writes, understanding emptiness of inherent existence through realizing that the aggregates, constituents, and the sources are not produced is described as wisdom. So here, what the author is saying is that, for example, in the Buddha's first public sermon on the Four Noble Truths, Buddha made references to the aggregates and constituents of the person, but nowhere does the Buddha, and for example, there's a causal relationship explained in terms of the Four Noble Truths, and further elaboration that is found in the 12 links of dependent origination. And within the 12 links of dependent origination, there is a reference to karma, there is a reference to the aggregates of the person and so on. And there is a kind of a process of taking birth in the unenlightened cycle. But nowhere there is a reference to any agent who goes through that cycle. And in relation to this, Asanga, in his Abhidhamma Samuccaya, Compendium of Knowledge, actually says that the reason why the Buddha never spoke of an agent of all of these processes is because the Buddha rejects the notion of self, the existence of self. So in other words, in the first public sermon, in the Four Noble Truths, the Buddha taught the selflessness of person, but not in relation to the aggregates that make up the person. So, however, in the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, such as the Heart Sutra, not only is the existence of the person, the selfhood of the person rejected, but also the true existence or inherent existence of the very basis of the arising of sense of self, the aggregates, it is also rejected. So for example, there is a state line which says that the five aggregates as well are devoid of inherent existence. This word as well means that, or two, means that not only is the self devoid of inherent existence, but also the very basis of the arising of sense of self. The aggregates are also devoid of inherent existence as well. So here, this is why the meditation on emptiness begins with a reflection on the nature of aggregates and so on. So, so when establishing or when presenting emptiness, emptiness is presented from different kind of angles, because when we grasp onto inherent existence of things, often we use characteristics of causation or their effects. The fact that causes are able to produce their effects is often used as a basis to postulate that there must be something inherently real about the cause and effect relation. So therefore, when presenting emptiness, the presentation of emptiness is done by using reasoning, which examines the reality from the point of view of causation, from the point of view of giving rise to effects, and from the point of view of things themselves. And so, for example, in stanza 48, it says, something existent cannot be produced, nor something non-existent, like a sky flower. These errors are both absurd, and thus both of the two will not occur either. So this is examining from the perspective of the effect of a thing. And then in the next stanza, stanza 49, it reads, a thing is not produced from itself, nor from another, also not from both, and so on. So this is examining the thing from the point of view of its causes, how it arises from its causes. And then in the next stanza, stanza 50, moreover, when all phenomena are examined as to whether they are one or many, identical or different, they are not seen to exist by way of their own entity, and thus are ascertained as not inherently existent. This is examining the nature of the thing from the point of view of itself, thing in itself, by subjecting its relationship to its basis. So, for example, in this way, when we look at the various reasoning which is used to arrive at the understanding of emptiness, all of these reasoning in one way or another really draw from the fundamental fact, which is the dependent nature of all things. And this is why the reasoning of dependent origination is referred to as the king among reasonings to establish emptiness. Because even whether it is from the analysis perspective from the cause or effect or thing in itself, all the reasoning finally converge upon the very recognizing the fact that, say for example, cause, effect is dependent upon its cause. And similarly, cause too is dependent upon its effects, because the very concept of cause, very notion that something is a cause, can only make sense within the context where you presuppose its relationship with an effect. So there is not only a relationship goes from effect to cause, but also from cause to effects as well. There is a mutual relationship and dependence. So therefore, in the reason why the dependent origination is characterized as the king among reasoning is because it also helps protect against falling into both extremes of absolutism or nihilism. So therefore, among Nagarjuna's texts, particularly in the fundamental stanzas on the middle way, the chapter that deals with presentation of the dependent origination, chapter 24 is the most important chapter of that important Nagarjuna text. And in that stanza, in that chapter, Nagarjuna brings forth all the possible objections from the Buddhist realists against the teaching on emptiness, and then turns the table back and then says that the reason why all these objections are being raised is because you have failed to understand the purpose of the teaching of emptiness and what is the nature of emptiness and what is the true meaning of emptiness. And in this context, Nagarjuna explains that that which is dependently originated, that has been taught to be empty, and this is dependently designated, and that is the true middle way. And there is nothing that is not dependently originated, and there is nothing that is not empty. So, so in this way, Nagarjuna explains how dependent origination, understanding of dependent origination, is key to understanding the meaning of emptiness.
Oh yeah. Just one.
No. And then the text concludes in 53, says, thus, whatever is meditation on selflessness, in that it does not observe an inherent nature in phenomena, is the cultivation of wisdom.
Oh yeah. Jini shiru kumbhe, shiru jini chönum gun, kange rangshi matong shiru jini, da kange rangshi matong shins, da jeshi ki shiru di jebe inas, shiru jini rik jeba, namdo meba tekom chas. Da di kumrim dang sebsha yore, da yu rikbe je, da jeshi ki rikbe te yang jeyo na, nyame debi chigi. Those seni, 다 타만 남도 거래 지금 그게 단 도보 거래 아 종주스 매도 지금 자 남도 매고 거버 대검 차스 다 도스산 에네 칼리 도베 지 교어로디 파페 가르자네 에네 넘버 미도가서 리보 먹고 사는 거다야 그러다 동안 두문 것도 싶어 미도가 에네 nga tumu mai be ya mi do ba tele ju ju ko ge mi do ba yao mo shi ju de ge ba di di xie ba de xia da ge ne shi tan da de ba shi le ne ba na yu tian na le ya ga sa ta ba tan da zhu ba tan da tan sum shi ge do ba yu tian na le ya so da nga ge li ne de ne shi tan da de ba shi zhe ne ya tan da jiao da zhe me de mo shi ji yong de ge do ba ba na long jing ge 이신저 rab지 말이 이신저 류잡잡에 나리야 단담담을 조다면 다 저래 뒤상이 나리야 단담 걸 둔산데 샤야래 저장 그도 단담 사람 당서대 단담사가 책디 찍그래디 단담 사람 당서대 매다 용되도 저 사람들 비거는 이네 단담에 세게做 군수 규律 做 좀 전에 단담도 군수가 야와시기도 와 사실은 인도산에 다 미도과스로네 르보 먹고 가야 해. 다 뒤에 시작부터 와. 미도고 측측 되네. 탐자로 미도고서 측 단자로 다 뒤에서는 야오야 말해. 인도야 말해. 저장 어디 남도 매버 대공차스. 남도 내주 시번이 남버도게 더니 지심을 또 보면 양년대 봐 초인노스. 대단히 좀 되게 남도 머리 전부 돼. 고려자도 동시 도미 띵지 라네 봐. 나가신도 도면서 시소소 나버미도 원주고 송래 장 담신 딜을 깨서 나버미도 삼주나 남도 저가 남대대 림기미도 토번죠 시송소 다 대대로 농도지고 당연히 신호도 깨매베 런심매베 내체네 나버 도면 공부를 차스 다 되게 내가 가서 우리 그게 다왔다는 거야 대체 다 대대로 뒤니 검차나 림기 최소 톱전에 러고라서 톱교데 산제 창주 윤미링 생다디 돌람기 다 서줄라 뭐저다 디소
So from now we read stanza 54. Just as wisdom does not see an inherent nature in phenomena, having analyzed the wisdom itself by reasoning, non-conceptuality, meditate on that. Non-conceptually meditate on that. The nature of this worldly existence, which has come from conceptualization, is conceptuality. Thus, the elimination of conceptuality is the highest state of nirvana. So in this in these stanza, what the author is explaining is that as we engage in deepening our understanding of emptiness through whatever reasoning that we apply, once we come to recognize the emptiness of inherent existence of things, then we need to shift our analysis to the mind itself. The very faculty that we are using to enter into inquiry, that mind itself needs to be subject to inquiry, and also arrive at a point that we also find that the mind itself is devoid of inherent existence. And so here there is a reference to ultimately arriving at a non-conceptual state, kind of a knowledge of non-conceptuality. And when we encounter words like this, it is important to bear in mind that the same word like non-conceptuality could mean differently in different contexts. So we shouldn't have a kind of a monolithic reading of a particular term and use that in any different context. So there will be many levels and degrees of non-conceptuality. And similarly, when we use terms like ultimate truth, or the word ultimate can mean differently in different contexts. For example, in Maitriya's text, the kind of differentiation between the center, middle, and the extremes, he speaks of ultimate aspiration, ultimate attainment, and ultimate fact or ultimate truth. Similarly, in Longchenpa's treasury of wish-fulfilling jewel, in the 18th chapter, by citing the Goyagarbha Tantra, speaks of 7 different meanings of the term ultimate in that context. Similarly, in the sorry, I mistook it. So in the 18th chapter of Ishinzu, Longchenpa speaks of different meaning of the word ultimate, and similarly in Guhyagarbha Tantra, there is a reference to 7 different meanings of the word ultimate. And then similarly in the Guhya Samaja Tantra, again the word ultimate is used in the context of referring to the illusory. In the 5 stages of Nagarjuna's text, on the completion stage of Guhya Samaja, the illusory body is referred to as the ultimate truth, the clear light is referred to as the ultimate truth, and the illusory body is referred to as the conventional truth. So the point is that just because a particular term is used, one should not understand that this meaning applies across all occurrences of the same term. And then we read in stanza 58, having ascertained through scripture and reasoning that phenomena are not produced nor inherently existent, meditate without conceptuality. And then from the next stanza onwards, having explained the content of the wisdom, then it explains how progressively the practitioner will travel on the path on the basis of that realization.
Yeah. That then, ngaktu nile drubai. 저자가 상제의 상하지 예배디 조지 별 패체 투딩리야 너리 최제가 그런한체 남진세에 나로 상하 예배디 송도가 돼. 시대 계속 내는지 분부 성주라서 주시 계속 또지장 대화인의 정주소 용소소 원대바 당스 자와주소 규수의 개들상하 chuyển 되는 대술로병 왕국을 인구를 소진다 거줄라서 참저기 라마 담은이 버자 라마니 버교와 용소로병 왕국의 디군남다 단연히 무주주의 견대 교루 다원은 왕의 고야리야 애니지 상왕의 샤왕 지 림벌 때문에 왕국에 용구야리 Any Tezu any condition race, Chuajial, Goini, Delayani, Tango Sanji Yujinle, Rodum Bebe Kakachir, San Shir Wanguni, Sangor Chebe, Langmichas. Kedi Wangur Tenzin, Sanju Godu, Lan Neve, Kakwa Chavre, Gurbe Chir, Godu Tomba Tenyam, the Tushuchan, the Pambaye, Donatan, Jungdusing, Tening Yason, Edon, Juvanaya Yama Yunus. Gyugu Nyanda Chava, the Jisu Chushin Sojabo, Loving Wongu Nijujing, Tiniri never made. That in Zawabu Kanga Zavarasona, Nada Mami, Zaveki, Doso Shirley, Shaton, Chanju, which you certain, Chanju Lamshan to check, Chanju Lanjum, Loving Pan Mamiza, he is our Zoso. Jagari Kambo, Divonga Shirijan, the Purge Lozo, Ganon Gavel, to use the Dana Pabo was. What the truth?
So in stanza 60, the author Atisha actually explicitly refers to the tantric path, the Vajrayana path, to also, although the text was written at the behest of the Ngari king, whose explicit request was to present a path that is applicable for all the practitioners, but in order to point out that there is the advanced tantric path as well, the author includes the Tantra as well. So we read in stanza 60, if you wish to create with ease the collections for enlightenment through activities of pacification, increase and so forth, gained by the power of mantra. So it goes on. And then in stanza 64, if there is the path of the Tantra, then the empowerment becomes important. Then in that case, what would be, wouldn't there be objections or conflicts for members of the monastic order to take some of these powerful attainments or empowerments? So it reads, because of the great Tantra of the primordial Buddha forbids it emphatically, those observing pure conduct should not take the secret and wisdom initiations. So then Atisha responds to that, and in stanza 67 it says, there is no fault if one who has received the preceptor initiation and has knowledge of suchness listens to or explains the tantras and performed burnt offering rituals or makes offering of gifts and so forth. And then in the final stanza, the author states his name, who wrote this. It reads, I, the elder Dipamkara Shri, having seen it explained in sutra and in other teachings, have made this concise explanation at the request of Changjube. And then the colophon reads, this concludes a lamp for the path to enlightenment by Acharya Dipamkara Shrijana. It was translated, revised, and finalized by the eminent Indian abbot himself and by the great reviser, translator and fully ordained monk Gevelodu.
So now completed. I hope not very tired. Okay. Oh. Yeah. So, those non-Buddhist, you see, you can take some idea from these sort of say topics, and also you can take some sort of say from my explanation. Then those Buddhists, see, read this again and again, and then I think you should not content. I usually see telling people, and also I feel, the material value, in any case, there is limitation. So the field where, in any way, there is limitation, better content. Then the mental quality is concerned, no limitation. Mind, formless, not something because of the gross thing. So therefore, knowledge we can indefinitely increasing. So in that field, we should not content. Usually we opposite. Material field, never content. Always want more. The spiritual matter are contented. So it's a further study. And not only, I mean, the way study, not just reading some history book, not like that. I say think more, and make some connection, your own feeling, your own experience, and point which mentioned in the text. Then through that way, eventually transform your very way of thinking and deeper experiences like that. That should the Lama 아주 벽에 넘어가지 찬주 인지도만 40로 하잖아. 전제 증명은 슈슈데 슈데도 슈 줄고.
So at the end we will all read in English
19
the Lamrim dedication prayer together in English. It's on page 19. By the knowledge and wisdom vast
all together read together loudly.
Okay, let's start. By the knowledge and wisdom vast as space, gained with effort over time, may I become the Buddha for those whose minds are blinded by ignorance. Manjushri, may your compassionate wisdom guide my lives along the path and lead me to the Dharma, that my practice may please the Buddhas. Empowered by the truth of these teachings, with compassion and skillful means, may I dispel ignorance from the minds of all beings and hold the Dharma with devotion for many eons. May the precious Dharma spread where it is needed and flourish where it exists, that by my effort, this treasure of happiness and aid can sustain all beings. May the desires of those who seek liberation be granted. May the deeds of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, as expressed in the sutras, forever unveil the road to enlightenment. May all human and spirit beings who have conquered adversity and cleared obstacles from the path never be parted from the Dharma. May the Bodhisattvas always sustain those who persist in the practice of the 10 Mahayana actions, and may oceans of prosperity and land.
Thank you.